lights are mysterious from somewhere in the universe. Planets and quasars with all kinds of hidden mysteries in the galaxy. NASA hiding secrets and astronauts discovering things. Mysterious societies from a far-along galaxy. Societies on Earth that have been destroyed with their own hidden secrets. Mysterious objects that surface from nowhere and yet are unexplained on how to use. Whole temples full of ruins, secrets, and hidden treasures. And most of all, objects from outer space that come with visitors that only want one thing. You're watching Hidden Truths.
Hi, hello, and welcome to Hitting the Truth. Now, today's video that I'll be talking about is a combination of things, but has to do with several main celebrities. That didn't sound right. A couple celebrities, okay? One of them being the leader of the Smashing Pumpkins, a rock band from the 90s that was a grunge band, and also Tila Tequila, and other things. This video was made by a man named Polarity. Polarity. And anyway, this is an interesting video when I came across it. This guy's got good work, so please check it out. Shout out to him. But I think I can clear some stuff up. Now, I've seen this video a couple times, and I've seen people who watched the video and made their own, I guess you say, reactions or reviews, whatever you want to say they did. Was both of them hitting the same chord, talking about, I think they missed the point of this man's video, because they only talk about reptilians, and what I got out of there wasn't no damn reptilians. I got a whole other thing that woke me up to a demon that was killed in the Bible along with his followers. Three times this demon was destroyed in the Bible. The last time was it, but one of them times has to do with Jezebel, which makes me wonder about the prophecy and revelation about Jezebel riding a monster or whatnot, or dragon, and all this stuff, which makes Revelation make sense, because hey, this monster, that demon or whatever that was supposed to be destroyed a long time ago, has returned and has been here the whole time, but in sheep's clothing, disguising itself to look like something else, and we've all been blind the whole time. And so this video woke me up to this, and I was like, regardless of what people say about me, think about me, whatever, I've read the Bible like nobody's business, okay? And I've went through many different religions trying to find the truth in finding God and understanding God. What I found was a connection between man and God that most people, I think, are so clueless about and can't comprehend. They get very close, but not to the level I have. And because of that, I have to separate myself from regular people most of the time. And then the Bible says that God's people will separate from the others anyway. That's a whole nother concept. Those of you that are Christian and things know what I'm talking about. But there's things I give up that I've used to do a lot of in life. And I gotta be weird because of that. I don't go to parties, I don't drink anymore. And there's a lot of things, weed and all that crap, this is whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and if I do lapse on smoking some weed or drinking, it's one time. And it won't be for a long, long period of time until I do it again. Because I like my brain. And being like, my brain has to function, but I guess it functions on a more higher level than most people, because I'm above average intelligence, which makes me somewhat crippled by my brain. So, anyway, and I only care about doing my own projects and things. So, but with this video, I went way off topic. That was an eye-opener for me to find out that this demon is still around and has followers and so forth. Whoever this woman is related to the Jeffrey guy that everyone wants the files of. At the same time, the stuff with Tila Tequila and the Smashing Pumpkin dude, This is where the other guys that made the reviews and what do you call it? Reviews and I don't know, their own opinion. I forget what you call the other side of saying reviews or the point of views or whatever. Okay, their videos all hit that she turned into a reptilian, which I'm trying to explain to people when you watch this, that it's not, everything's not about something far out from outer space. It's closer to home than you think. And when you talk about black-eyed beings and you're talking about changing, shape-shifting, we got to quit using the term skinwalkers, because that's a Native American term to go steal something from another person's farm or something, because natives didn't have something, so they dressed up in costumes and they would steal something and they would say like they're deers or whatever. That's where that term skinwalker comes from. But it's not a supernatural term. It's more of a cultural term specifically for Native Americans, or you know what I'm trying to say. So that's what it means. But shapeshifter is the term, or depending on what creature, it has a different name. Werewolves are lightning tropes. But people watch the dumb movie Underworld and you keep saying lichen, and it gets annoying after a while. Just say the full damn name. Okay? So I hope I'm making sense here. Anyway, I think all three people, the two people that interviewed Polarity's video and Polarity himself, miss a key point because they didn't grow up in the time period where Smashing Pumpkins were popular. But something that's being said in there, I can clarify in so many ways, saying to make sense out of what they say. Oh, I don't know what that means. All of them say the same thing, and it trips me the hell out. Okay, but I will explain everything like I always do. We're gonna get in this video right now, and those of you guys that are extremists or afraid or whatever of supernatural things that reach a dark level of occult and demonic nature, just tune off and go watch something else. Otherwise, stick around so we can talk about Tila Tequila, the leader of the Smashing Pumpkins, some other crazy crap that has to do with that Jeffrey dude, and Walt Disney, believe it or not, and some other crazy nonsenses. I went all over the place researching stuff. I would bring this whole thing I found about Walt Disney's family tree because of what was said in this video. But from what this woman's saying in this video, is an off branch of Disney's tree that is hidden from the rest of the world, but is connected to people in power that you guys despise. It's insane. This video deserves a reward. This Polarity guy, like I said, shout out to him in the serious sense of shout out to him. Did good work here, good research, an amazing video. So let's get into it. Okay, so there's a video, and here's the man himself. And from here on, I'm gonna stop once in a while to explain what I don't think the other videos covered that reviewed it or rewatched it or criticized it. I don't think they know what the hell they're talking about, because one of them made a whole comedy of it. They just mocked Tila Tequila, and I think it's because she's Asian, and that's not cool, because Asian hotties deserve respect no matter if they're insane or not. Hell, the majority of women on this planet is insane, but somehow we find a way to get with them, which tells us something's wrong with us. So which is honest to God truth. So let's just get into this and pay very close attention to what's being said, not just by this, but what I'm gonna say.
What the hell?
Oh, crap.
Is going on, guys? The other week I did a video on reptilian shapeshifters. We looked at a few cases, and one of them, the big one, was Billy Corgan, the lead singer of the Smashing Pumpkins, on Howard Stern, saying that he saw the same person shapeshift twice.
I know it happened. In fact, it happened twice.
And you guys were speculating hard in the comments, but one comment in particular led me down a wild rabbit hole, and this person got in contact with me. They are from Chicago. They are a musician. They hang around in all the circles that Billy Corgan was hanging around with, and they know this story, and they told it to me, and I went deep on it, and it all seems to line up, and it took me on a absolute wild rabbit hole into the deep, dark depths of Hollywood. I feel like this stuff is kind of all coming out right now, and that's why I am going to talk about it. But I won't lie, this is one of the videos that I just feel a little bit kind of anxious to put up. But it comes from a place of wanting humanity to be a better place. So I think it would be remiss of me if I just ignored it. I think that's actually why we're in this mess in the first place. So we're going to run it back. I'm going to take you right back to the start. I'm going to walk you through the investigation that I've gone through. And I just want to say that the video does get pretty dark. So if you want to just find out who the shapeshifter was, you can find out and leave if you want to. But if you want to learn some hard truths maybe about what the hell is actually going on, then hang around until the end. And just to give you a little tip, I don't think we're talking about lizard people here. I don't think this is about reptilians. I think this is something much deeper, darker, and something that has been ongoing for centuries.
So pausing it right there. Okay. So he's 100% right. This isn't about reptilians. Okay. And if you understand, I believe a person, yes, you got to know God. You got to know your spiritual world. You got to know how to pray. You got to know understanding. There's things in the Bible that is said that Jesus did that are getting ignored and has been ignored for many, many decades. And people do not read these things. They overlook it like, oh, okay, that happened. Because they choose not to believe in the supernatural or demonic behavior. But Jesus cast out many demons just as well as he healed the weak. And he gave us rules on how to get rid of these things. But it gets ignored. I used to explain it to people. Like there's one passage, and you find in Matthew or Luke, where the disciples came across a boy, and he was like demon possessed. Okay, and the one story says the boy with two spirits, two demons. Another one says, I think the one in Luke says the boy, they cast out the demons from these two boys, or this boy had two demons, and then another one, he just had one demon. But anyway, the story goes the same either way. Jesus came across the boy. Well, first there was the disciples. They came across the boy and they tried to cast out the demons. They couldn't do it. The villagers already tried and they couldn't do it. And then Jesus came across the boy and he cleared the demons out quick. And then everyone came to Jesus and said, Jesus, how'd you do it? And Jesus says, with this kind, there's emphasis in kind, because they let you know there's tons of them. Because in the Bible they say kind, like mankind. You know, there's not just one kind of man, there's many kind of men. There's not just one kind of dog, there's not one kind of bear. And then each of its own kind. So when you hear the word kind in the Bible, it means the multitude of a certain being or creature that's all over the globe. So when Jesus says emphasis, like I said, in kind, and this kind, with this kind, can only be cast out with prayer. Now, because it's a young boy that's being possessed by a demon, it's a type of demon that is used mostly to possess children. And this one you've seen plenty of times in movies. You just said, oh, it's a movie, who cares, you know, but you've seen it plenty of times, and the most famous one is Linda Blair and The Exorcist. Usually these kids don't live past 20 or 22 after they've been exiled. The demon's been exiled out of the body and cast out, whatever you want to say. It never comes back, but the kid dies because it took stress and all this stuff that came out of the kid when the evil was inside. And so I'm expressing this, at least that part of the Bible, for a reason, is because so many people walk around and you think they're human. You think they understand you or they're your friend, but they all serve a purpose. Rather it be a god, someone they work for, a family member, or a demonic, malevolent being. You know, and even the more crazy, maybe extraterrestrial being that is trying to use that person as a vessel to figure out how things work or to get what it wants while it comes to Earth. We have no idea. But you can't be blindsided, and you can't be sitting there being a victim You can't accept everything. You gotta turn your cheeks and your face away from everything in some cases, just so you can understand where you stand, what you believe in, and what you follow. But back to what the video said, it's not just about reptilians. It's not about reptilians at all. It's about demons, I'm telling you. And the other part of it is, Smashing Pumpkins was big in the 90s, not as big as Stone Temple Pilots or Nirvana, of course, or, you know, Soundgarden or something like that. But they were all in the same thing. Everybody else was in the Temple of Dogs, except for Smashing Pumpkins. You guys would know if you lived in the 90s. These were some grunge bands, and grunge music was supposed to be the new music, but it just came and went, which is so crazy. But Smashing Pumpkins had one good song, you know, Today, It's Not Raining, and they had another good one. But one of the best songs they had is, in some people's mind, one of the best musics of the 90s. Okay, so let's just get back into it. Oh crap. So here we go. Pay very close attention to what's being said, and I'll talk about it. I might not switch back to the when you see me in the home base system here.
My name is Josh. Welcome to Polarity. If you're new
Oh, crappity crap.
here, please consider subscribing. I promise every video isn't this dark. And if you're not new here, welcome back. Get a drink, get comfy, because this one is wild.
Okay, so that was his little intro. Now let's get into it.
All right, so I guess the best place to start here would just be to look at the clip of Billy Corgan talking about it. In case you didn't see it in the last video, this is him on Howard Stern on 2 different occasions telling the story of this shapeshifter. Check it out.
Say I was with somebody once and I saw a transformation that I can't explain.
The person transformed into something other than human.
Yes, I saw it.
You were talking to someone. They said to you, look, something's going to happen here. I'm going to morph into something else.
Imagine you're doing something and suddenly you turn around and there's somebody else standing there.
You still standing by it?
Absolutely. I know it happened. In fact, it happened twice. And on top of that, what's amazing is we live in a world where, you know, I mean, look, I've been in public life on some level for 30 years.
Yep.
People treat it as if I'm crazy.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm here to say, like, now maybe I had a hallucination, but I saw what I saw.
Right. You saw it. It's your reality.
That's what I'm saying. So it's like, to question somebody's reality is a strange thing.
The second time you saw a shapeshifter, where were you? Probably at Darcy's house.
It was the same. It was the same person.
Oh, it was.
This happened with the same person twice.
Billy, when will you announce who this person is so I can investigate? Seriously.
I wouldn't name names.
But it's a famous person, right?
I wish it was somebody famous.
Yeah, because then that would be awesome.
Well, think of the book sale.
It was like Justin Bieber.
If you release their name.
So there's a little bit more to that clip. If you want to check it out, go watch the last video I did on the shapeshifters. But we saw what we needed to see. Now, I just want to highlight, he does say that this person isn't famous in that clip. And the person I'm going to reveal to you in this video definitely is. But I think that's just Billy covering his ass, maybe trying to take the pressure off of people trying to hound him. Now, that's just my speculation, but there's a reason for that. And I think that'll become clear when we get to the end of this video.
So what he's just saying is a key point of what I tried to investigate on my own, because we're talking about Billy Corgan, we're talking about Smashing Pumpkins leader guy here, and then we're talking about the individual he's talking about, the shapeshifted. And at the time that individual became famous, it was supposed to be single, supposed to be every man's fantasy, you know, all kinds of crap. And they were kind of, Smashing Pumpkins was kind of sliding into the background, like they weren't as popular as they were. At least this is how I remember it, you know. But at the time, Smashing Pumpkins still was big, but not as big as they were, because other stuff was coming up, other people you guys all know and still talk about, you know, because every generation has their own music, has their own celebrities, has their own it girls. Like, I guess the it girl right now would be Sydney Sweetie, Body Wash Genie, right? Or something like that. In the 90s, we had Pamela Anderson. We had several different ones, you know. And it's because women get older, and then there's always something young and prettier. And it's the same thing with music. There's always some music that sounds better, sounds, can relate to the people of that time. And so this keeps going on and on. So I think the fact that he says that the girl isn't famous, or the person isn't famous, and was at the time where he met her, she wasn't. And his music was still kind of famous. But when that person comes on the scene, that person became ultra famous, mega famous. Everyone had her in magazines and TV shows and stuff. So it's something where you got to be like, And so I am puzzled with the time period with this one little scene right here. And I have to say, it has to be the early 2000s. If anything, 2003, 2004, somewhere in there. Somewhere to the end of the 90s was like, the 90s was this, the beginning of the 2000s was just like the 90s. And nowadays you can't relate the two. It definitely doesn't feel nothing like the 90s. But still, the beginning of the 2000s was very similar to the 90s because we still had a lot of stuff, gadgets and stuff, pagers and things and all that. But yeah, that's what I see right there. And also, I haven't said it, but this is going to be a long-ass video, y'all.
So I did a little bit of digging, and Billy also talked about this on Joe Rogan, and I found another interesting little nugget in this. So check this out. This is Billy Corgan about 7 years ago on the Joe Rogan Experience.
Oh, it's a fantasy world.
Yeah, that's part of the
Fantasy
music
world.
business, right?
Yeah.
I got to ask you this one thing for
Sure.
is because I read this and I was like, what?
By the way, this was at like the last 3 minutes of their podcast, right? And you can just tell there, like, this has been on Joe's mind like the entire time, and he just is like, okay, before you go, I have to ask you this.
Here we go.
You saw someone shapeshift?
Oh, God.
So nervous.
Is that real, or were you fucking with people?
No, it's true.
Really?
Yeah, it's true.
Because when you told me that you enjoy Kaufman-like moments, I was like, okay.
No, it's
maybe.
true. I would tell you off grid, but I won't say it publicly.
Really?
The only way I'd say it publicly is if I write it. And I've been writing this book for years, and it's in the book.
Really?
So I'd tell you off grid, but I can't. It's look. I know Alex Jones sat in this seat, right? I know you've been on InfoWars. I've been on, there's a
Have you been on InfoWars
Oh yeah,
too?
I think 3 or 4 times. Yeah.
What have you been on InfoWars for?
Mostly talking about free speech.
And that's where the conversation basically just, I think Billy took that as a nice way to get the hell out of there, because he obviously doesn't want to talk about it publicly. And again, I think there's a reason for that, and that's what we're going to get to. But he mentions there that he's going to be talking about this in his book. Now, this episode on Joe Rogan was a while ago, so I went looking into it, and the only book that Billy Corgan has ever released is called Blinking with Fists, and this is like over 10 years ago, before that interview took place, and it's basically just like a poetry collection. It's not any kind.
So to go back right there, go back a bit. They said 7 years, right? But the book has a date when it was published.
I think Billy took that as a nice way to get the hell out of there, because he obviously doesn't want to talk about it publicly. And again, I think there's a reason for that, and that's what we're going to get to. But he mentions there that he's going to be talking about this in his book. Now, this episode on Joe Rogan was a while ago, so I went looking into it, and the only book that Billy Corgan has ever released is called Blinking with Fists.
So as you see, this book came out in 2006. Like I said, the timeline of the person he seen shapeshift has to be somewhere in the early 2000s. So even though 2006, the people say, oh, that's not early 2000s, we're in 2025 right now, or 2026, depending on whenever you see this video. It's going to be steady going in the future. But this is what the date, when I'm filming this, is 2025. And, my back hurts. But, so what I was saying was, this person wasn't famous to him. So when he met this person, he was still on the big ladder, okay? And this person was way down, low on it, right? Not even way down. And so around this time period, this person was getting big, okay? 2006, around 2003, somewhere in there, like I said. So Yeah, and I forgot all about this book thing. But anyway, here we go.
And this is like over 10 years ago, before that interview took place. And it's basically just like a poetry collection. It's not any kind of biography or anything like that. So we're still waiting for that book.
Maybe it's not.
However, you guys in the comments were speculating. A lot of people were that the person he saw shapeshift was Courtney Love. And I get it. I mean, you know, I can see that.
And Courtney Love was another person that was kind of an it girl in the 90s. She was really kind of popular just because she dated Kurt Cobain. At the same time, she, you know, made the band Hole, and they had the song. And, you know, Hole wasn't really a big popular song to other girl bands and things that was going on back then. Literally, the only reason why I noticed, I was like one of those guys that lived on it with MTV, constantly playing in my bedroom or living room. I was MTV obsessed. So, you know, so I knew every music. Now I can't stand music. It's so weird. I get old and don't give a damn about music, but it's the truth. So it's like, but back then she got really big for a minute, and then when Kirk did his thing, you know, it was like, what happened to Courtney Love? And people start seeing her do all kinds of crazy stuff. I really think she is half the cause of things that happen with Kurt Cobain, because all women are behind the fall of all great men. At least that's my opinion.
definitely see that, but there was one comment in particular that stood out to me. This person contacted me saying they are a musician from the Chicago, Illinois area, which is where Billy Corgan is from, and he kind of grew up in and around those other artists and in that scene, and that this story is kind of well known in the musician scene in Chicago. And the person that Billy Corgan saw shapeshift was Tila Tequila.
No, like I said, she was like, you just heard it. I'm trying to go back a bit too. I mean, they showed that photo quick, and there, okay, it's Courtney Love's stupid photo. Wow. I can't really bring it, well, whatever, Courtney Love. But anyway, so that proves my time point. It's Tina Tequila. At the same time, she just got really big around that time period, like the early 2000s. And then it was, I know I had a magazine thing, I cut it out of her, you know, I dig Asian chicks are hot to me, Latin chicks are hot, black girl, you know what, I like every flavor across the ice cream shop. You know what I'm saying, I'll dig all with it. And in some cases, there's certain things, I like bug-eyed girls and girls with necks and some with them giant legs and then boy, blah, 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 right? And let me stop. Oh, I'm retarded. I gotta make you laugh a little bit so you don't feel completely terrified hearing this story. But anyway, let's get back to it.
Stood out to me. This person contacted me saying they are a musician from the Chicago, Illinois area, which is where Billy Corgan is from, and he kind of grew up in and around those other artists and in that scene, and that this story is kind of well known in the musician scene in Chicago. And the person that Billy Corgan saw shapeshift was Tila Tequila.
Bang, now I got her. Ha ha! Okay, so yeah, she was looking like this back then. It was all right like this. And everyone was into her. She was on MTV all the damn time on a lot of reality shows. And that's where her celebrity status just grew. Okay? And I think she had a couple reality shows. I can't remember the original one she was on. Maybe it was the Ray J thing or one of them damn reality shows. I can't dig reality shows. But that's what the world is now. Twitch is literally a reality show. You know, like Kais and not all those guys are all reality show people. You know, walk around all day, or URLing and everybody, you know. It's just reality shows everywhere. People's not interested in the gameplay. Or people that make original content like how I'm creating this show step by step and making it look interesting with this stuff going on and everything else. But still just respect people with the old school creativity craft. Because that means they're actually creating something instead of just filming crap. I'm not gonna say something that might piss people off, but I can say some stuff. But anyway, let's get back to it.
I know, it's wild, right? It's very strange. So I just decided to reply to this person. Given their background and where they came from and their little backstory they gave me, I decided this was a thread worth pulling on. So I just said, hey, I would love to know more. Please, if you can give me some more details, like here's my email, let me know. And I just thought, we'll see what happens. In the meantime, I began researching Tila Tequila, and I found this very strange video from her in around 2012 where she's talking about the Illuminati. Let's check this out.
So I'm making this video because now is the time, and I am about to release some very important documents as well as proof, so you know. And once again, I want to thank you all for your support, because the more you support me, the more I'm able to speak out for you and expose more truths to you. Because I'm the only one here doing this, and they continue to block me out and do whatever they can to discredit me, to make me disappear, because they know they can't just point blank assassinate me, because I keep telling you and warning you ahead of time. So if they do that, then everybody will know that they murdered me. They started saying that, oh well, Tila's part of the Illuminati, she's just here to be part of the agenda to, you know, the New Age movement, blah blah blah. And the next thing you know, now that there's proof that I'm not, now they're saying, now they're going back to other stuff. So what is it? What is it, guys? So am I some haggard person who's been hiding my face because I'm so disgustingly ugly now? Or is it the fact, am I part of the Illuminati or not? Because one minute you say that I am, and now that I prove that I'm not, you go off and say all these other stuff. So make up your mind. Oh, as for Alex, you've lost a lot of credibility.
She's talking about Alex Jones.
Amongst a lot of people. I mean, even myself, I was a fan for a little bit, but then I started noticing as well that, okay, everybody listen here. Here's another valid point. Everybody who speaks the truth, such as myself, those who are like Alex Jones, for instance, he speaks a lot of these truths, right? He gets all this information. But why is it that he's still able to speak on the air? Why is it that he seems to be protected by some source? Why do you think that is? And why is it someone like Tila Tequila, who speaks of the same thing, I don't even go as far as Alex. I speak, you know, the truth as well, but why am I being banned? Think about it.
It's a pretty interesting point about Alex Jones. Like, he does out a lot of people. But I don't know, I guess he's kind of independent as well. But then again, people like David Icke have been kicked off of platforms and just flat out banned. That doesn't happen to Alex Jones. It is a fair point.
Because I'm speaking the truth, but I'm not trying to put people in fear. I'm not trying to scare you. Alex speaks the truth, but he does it in a way where he's fear-mongering, and he speaks out the truth, but he speaks in a trembling way to scare people. Oh no, everybody, the world's ending. We're all gonna die. We have no rights. To scare you guys, to take the power away from you. I speak the truth coming from the light, but giving you back your power. There's a difference. That's why I'm being banned, and people like Alex Jones is being protected by the CIA, because he's part of the system to speak the truth, but to also instill fear into the world, so we're all scared and helpless and feeling hopeless. Whereas me, I'm speaking the truth as well, but I'm not doing it in a way where I'm scaring you guys. I'm actually speaking the real truth underneath the truth. I know this all sounds very confusing, but the fact is, like I said, I know all their tactics. I know the inside. Like I said, I have a situation that directly related to one of the leaders.
So I'm pausing it right there because I haven't said nothing in a minute, and it's just a trip watching her after not seeing her for so long. But the thing about it is, this is the part where, this is like later after she kind of started falling off, this video is, because when she was popular, her main thing was like, you know, oh look at me, I'm a beautiful girl, and no one gave a damn if she was Asian or nothing. It's just like, she's hot, you know. And they did all kinds of little like reality shows and things, and there was some other stuff, if I remember, like some kind of music video maybe. If I can't really remember too much, that was in my drunken haze times. But the thing about it is, she is coming off serious about things and talking about the truth, and I believe her here in this video. And yes, there's so many people protected. You got to think about that. They can say any damn thing. No one takes them out and assassinate them, or nothing like that. And it's not. And I'm not saying it in a way to once again bring fear or anything like that. But here you got this crap that just happened recently with the Charlie Kirk thing, and there's always somebody that either is a martyr for something, and it's not cool. But there's other people who they try to silence and stop and cut off. And then my whole thing for that is to say this: if you believe in a person that's speaking out, or an actor, or a celebrity, a real person, even someone in your damn neighborhood, okay, don't waver. Don't never change your mind about that person. Don't let no one change your opinion on that person. Just go on and try to understand the point this person's trying to make. Because in every madman's word slips a bit of the truth. And that's the honest to God truth. And even in this situation here, though, there's something going on, and I believe this guy is onto something, but he still can't figure it out. And like I said, I think I can clear up some things. But this is where she starts to fall off, and in that certain time period, who knows what year this was, and but it was still, once again, in the early 2000s, around somewhere in or 2000, close to 2010. And I have to say that her whole belief system changed drastically. She went from like a party girl to this girl who's just like obsessed with all kinds of stuff. Right here she's calm, but I've seen videos of her going off about the most craziest stuff, and you're like, wow, what happened to this girl? What happened? Like, you know, and women fall victim to the most demonic stuff because they'll think they're so cute. They'll be around the guys that are sweating them, and they'll think about a bunch of wolves ready to devour somebody, you know what I mean? And girls will put themselves in that situation. You know, I watched a video the other day of some guy that was sitting there trying to get freaky with a girl and put her into a U-Haul truck. And then as soon as she got in the U-Haul truck, two other guys came in. One went in and started holding on to her while the other two went out and shut the damn door. And they drove off with her. That's crazy, right? But it happens. Or there wouldn't be so many stories of women being kidnapped or be abused in so many ways. It's so crazy. It's so sick. But I mean, there's other things that could happen, you know, and I'm not trying to tell you to make your imagination goes into those thoughts of what would happen to a woman if they put themselves in certain places around certain types of things that are already established, that could take a person and destroy them and make them completely miserable, make them just like lesser than, feel less than human, and tear their soul apart. Okay? But women put themselves in that situation. And this is why a lot of them are so damn nuts, no matter how hot they are. Because they done did something, and then they can't tell you. They might like you, they might love you a bit, but they can't shake that past. And it's too heavy, man. It's too heavy to bear. So, let's hear it.
Of the others. So, that's why.
So, this was all coming out, from my understanding, around like 2012, where she was sort of like going through a bit of a rough time, and she began sort of speaking out, saying all this wild shit. Like a lot of these people in Hollywood do, right? I mean, Kanye is probably the latest version of it.
Kanye is not the latest version of what happened to Tila Tequila. I'll tell you right now. This woman went nuts. Like, completely nuts. Like, everything. Then she went from looking like a hottie to somebody's Asian granny. Like, her teeth missing or whatever. It's like, and she's Hitler or some crap, and all this crazy stuff. And I don't know why they all want to be Hitler when they go crazy. Roseanne Barr did the same thing, and she's supposed to be Jewish. And it doesn't make any sense at all, okay? It doesn't make sense.
But it's not anything new. I like Alex Jones. I'm not like having a go at him, but I can understand what she's saying, that he speaks from fear, right? And that he kind of does a little bit, the way that he comes across. And
listen, and I have to say this because of what he's talking about right now. No matter who it is in the media, who it is that's in politics, and it's these only two things, politics and the media, okay? All they do is buy and sell fear. You know, it all depends on if you're going to decide to pick up the thing and go, oh, I'll buy that. I'll take that right now. Or if you say, oh, I'm going to sell that off to the next person. You know what I'm saying? I don't want the warranty. I don't want any of that. I don't want nothing to do with it. Okay, it depends on you. If you want to buy it and say, hey, stick to it, hold it to it, your truth like it's the gospel, and go around and say everything you believe that was from the media or from the politics, then that's you. That's your faith. But don't push that on nobody else, because everybody else ain't buying it. And that's just what I gotta say.
And, you know, it's when you look at the news and the politics and all that kind of stuff, it is, you know, divide and conquer, play them against each other, fear-mongering. Like, that is the tactic. So what?
Yo, Metallica said it. Fight fire with fire. Ending is near. Fight fire with fire. Let me stop.
What she's saying makes sense, but obviously you're probably wondering like how this ties into her shapeshifting. Well, we're going to get there. He came back with an email, okay? Quite a long one. Now, he asked me to protect his name, so we're just going to be calling him the Chicago musician. And I'll have to blur out a little bit of the screen, but that's fine. So, Tila Tequila Shapeshift. This is what he got back to me with. I'm just going to read it word for word how he wrote it. Hey Josh, I'm the guy that left a comment about Billy Corgan and Tila Tequila. I'm not going to mention sources' names because some are active musicians and I do not want to ruin careers no matter how big or small. I did contact my former bandmate who was at the party to make sure my recall is accurate. This is what I was told and what I know. In 2009, Billy was seeking investment partners to co-found a pro wrestling company based in Chicago and other projects, but primarily wrestling. He planned a party and invited celebrities such as former wrestlers, athletes, musicians, and private investors to his Beverly Hills mansion he just purchased. Tila was invited by Sean Merriman, former NFL player. He was with another female as well. Billy and Tila got to know each other during the party, and he asked if she would like to stay the night. She did. My former bandmate, I'll call him BM, manager was invited, so he invited BM. BM manager was close to Billy, so the manager gets a call from Billy the next morning, and the conversation was something like this. Billy, hey, did you notice anything weird about Tila last night? Manager, what do you mean? Billy, did she seem off or different? Manager, I never met her before last night, so I don't know what different would be. Billy, dude, I think she is different. Manager, different like she is the one you want to marry? Billy, no. I don't know. Was I fucked up last night? I mean, I know I had a buzz, but I don't know. I'll call you later. Here she comes. The manager heard Tila's raised voice before Billy ended the call say, why the hell did you sleep in another room? He told the manager later that day he swore her face began to change when they were fucking. He told him the more she was getting off, the more her face contorted and took a different shape.
You guys ever seen the movie, which movie was that? Don't Be a Menace to South Central Way, drinking your juice in the hood. And the part where he's in the back of the freaking mail truck and he's doing to the girl, and all of a sudden she starts shapeshifting, so she goes, oh no nigga, you're not going nowhere. It's hilarious. And then American Werewolf in Paris, he's all doing to the girl, and she's looking hot, her bosoms and stuff, and all of a sudden she turns into a werewolf on him while she's riding it, like, I got it, right? That's some crazy stuff, man. But anyway, that stuff happened, and that's some real shit. I had this girl, and I met her when I was drunk at this party and stuff, and she ended up being my girlfriend for a while, but I was on this big drunken thing, right? And then, like, one day I sobered up and I was like, right? And she like, really? For real? Because I couldn't believe. I thought all this shit was a dream. I couldn't believe this girl was real. And not in the sense like, okay, like, oh, like she was ugly or whatever, because she wasn't ugly. You know what I'm saying? Everything put together all right. But it's just the bride was crazier as hell, like break glasses and do all this crazy stuff, and then you got to do it to her to calm her down. It was nuts. That was just a terrifying, it was a horrible relationship. I've been in a lot of toxic ones. But anyway, back to what I said. I just had to throw it out there to break the ice a bit. Okay, here we go.
A week or two later, he told the manager he must have had a hallucination and was still talking to her. They were never seriously dating, but would occasionally hook up. A few months, Billy came to Chicago and had Tila and Casey Johnson, her dad is the owner of the New York Jets, and Billy, Tila and Casey, invited several of his friends, including BM and BM manager, to his Gold Coast condo for a get-together. By the way, there is a Gold Coast in Chicago. This is not in Australia. BM said it was normal get-together drinks, a little smoke, he didn't see anyone doing hard drugs, and no one offered him any, and it was an early night. After everyone is gone, Billy and the girls are having fun. You know, hung out face. Billy calls BM manager about 5 a.m, absolutely freaking out. He said they were all, you know, through the night. He went to take a shower and came back in the room about 45 minutes later, and Casey was going down on Tila, and her face was shape-shifting again. Her eyes were completely black, and she cracked a smile at him as it was happening. Totally freaking out, he told the manager, dude, I have my driver taking me to my house. He also owned a mansion in Highland, Illinois. Tila and Casey doesn't know that I've left. I'm going to send my driver back to take them to catch the flight back. I will take another flight tomorrow. Yeah, so that's how it went down. Billy saw Tila shape-shifting again, freaked out, and abandoned her at his condo. My buddy's manager said he was freaking out, and all he could hear was the same voice yelling, despite all my rage, I'm still just a rat in a cage. I don't know if that's a joke or not.
So, that right there, okay. And okay. His number one album, well, let me change up the scenery a bit. So his number one song back in the day, this Billy Corbin guy, was Rat in the Cage? No, it was Rage. Well, anyway, the name of the song. Okay, what they just said, despite all my rage, I'm still just a rat in the cage, is a song from the 90s. It's one of his best hit albums, or best hit songs from that album. Because the other one, you know, it starts off fuzzy and nice, and today and I remember, but this one was the shit. Okay, and like, despite all my rage. Now, if you think about the lyrics of the song, if you know this song, and then you think about what they're saying, Tila could sing the song or whatever, and that's that. And the other guy that did the review of this same video, he talked about it, and he said the same thing. I don't know what that means, which tells me y'all is young. It's my generation, so I know what it means, right? But if the lyrics in the song, and you guys can go look it up or whatever to make sure I'm telling the truth. And there's a crap that YouTube does where they think I'm making it up. But seriously, the song goes, despite all my rage, I am still just a rat in a cage. And someone would say, what is lost can never be saved. And he goes, despite all my rage, I'm still just a rat in a cage. And then it says, it goes off into this riff, the guitar riff changes. I guess you would call that the bridge in the song or whatever. And it goes, tell me I'm the only one. Tell me there's no other one. Jesus is the only son. So tell me I'm the chosen one or something like that. And then for you or something like that. Then the last part of it is like a chorus in a way. And it goes, and I still believe that I cannot be saved. And I still believe that I cannot be saved. And that's pretty much the end of the song. Then into that part. Right. So anyway. That's the song. At least that's the main parts of where the song has demonic undertoning, I guess you would say, or some kind of supernatural meaning in a spiritual sense, because they talk about Jesus in it. But that's what I thought when I heard them say this, pretty much, and it's probably what's going on, because you know, just think about what I just said, and you don't believe me, go look it up. The song is called Rage or whatever, and that's what it's about. Okay? It's about feeling trapped in society, pretty much. And so, but in this case, if she's a shapeshifter, that means her true self is being trapped behind the fake persona that she's showing the world. It just makes sense. Okay, so let's get back to this, but I just had to explain that part. And I might have did it a little too fast. You can rewind it or however you want. But I'm telling you, that's one of his biggest songs ever. And it's actually one of the most darkest of the Smashing Pumpkins songs, if you ask me. And so, if you're talking about a person that could shapeshift and, you know, as a demon or whatever, then most likely that would be the song that they would like. Because it's talking about, you know, not being saved. It's talking about just being trapped, all kinds of things, imprisonment, everything. We'll go back.
As it was happening, totally freaking out, He told the manager, dude, I have my driver taking me to my house. He also owned a mansion in Highland, Illinois. Tila and Casey doesn't know that I've left. I'm going to send my driver back to take them to catch the flight back. I will take another flight tomorrow. Yeah, so that's how it went down. Billy saw Tila shape-shifting again, freaked out, and abandoned her at his condo. My buddy's manager said he was freaking out, and all he could hear was the same voice yelling, despite all my rage, I'm still just a rat in a cage. I don't know if that's a joke or not. He got a laughing face. He said, Billy said on Stern he saw the shapeshifter once naked, but my buddy's manager doesn't know why he said that. This is how it was told to me. I can't prove any of it, but my friend is a solid guy. He never did the hard drugs. He certainly has never lied to me. His manager has also told me the story, and other people that were there did meet Tila and Casey. Who knows? Maybe she is a shape-shifting reptilian. Billy is convinced she's a demon. Happy to share that story with you if you have any other questions.
So right there, that part right there has to be understood. I think it's because the myth is out there about the reptilians. It's not even a myth, but the fact that people are so obsessed with reptilians. You want to be obsessed with something that's been here the whole time, but something that's been way, way older than reptilians and us. Because believe it or not, reptilians and us are not that damn far apart when it comes to the whole being a life, thing. Or should I say, beings that exist in this universe. We're about the same timeline, same wavelength, same symbiont circle or circle of life, however you want to put it. Reptilians and humans are not that far off, but demons are old as dirt. They're older than the cosmos itself. They're right there with the angels. So what you're hearing, okay, is not a reptilian story, and I'm telling you that now. It's a demonic possession, and from what is happening 2 times in the story, he's trying to get down with this girl, and the demon keeps coming out. So she's beyond just possessed with a demon. It's one that can only come out when the act of lust is in charge, or in some form of way. It's kind of like something popping up, like a disease that pops up when you're close to something that makes you feel like, for instance, like people allergic to peanut butter or bees or whatever. Okay, it's gonna pop a rash, it's gonna do something, but in this case, a demon pops out. Okay, so that's the way I look at it.
Let me know. At this point, I'm like, okay, this is a lot. I've got a few things coming to mind, but the first thing I did was to just go on ChatGPT or Grok and look up what is like Tila Tequila's background, because I don't know this shit. I don't know like Tila Tequila. That's not my world. I don't know who this woman is. Well, I know I've heard of her before, but like I didn't really know anything about her. So I just said, Grok, please explain to me the murky lore of Tila Tequila, her relationships and past lovers, and gave me a bit of a background. And then we got key relationships and associated lore. And you can see here, Casey Johnson, which is who the person in the email was talking about. They were dating from 2007 to 2010. Tragically, Casey died on January 4th, 2010 at age 30 from diabetic ketoacidosis, possibly exacerbated by drug use. And it says Tila was devastated, claiming she was on suicide watch. And I think this, you can see 2010, this is a few years before that video that we watched. So I think this was like the catalyst for her to kind of go like a little bit off the deep end. But that off the deep end part happened after this encounter with Billy Corgan, right? So I just wanted to point that out and kind of look at those dates so they make sense. But let's keep going here. Sean Merriman, that's the person who invited Tila to the party. NFL linebacker, again, lines up with what we saw in the email. And if we come all the way down here, other rumored and confirmed partners, Billy Corgan, 2009 to 2010. Tila dated Smashing Pumpkins frontman Billy Corgan, a high-profile romance that ended amicably but quietly. Little detail is available, contributing to the murkiness of her dating timeline. After that, okay, and by the way, so let's just go back to the book, right?
I had to pause it real quick because I noticed that it said she's the queen of MySpace. That's why I laughed crazily a minute ago. So that, like I said, her fame came from MySpace. Wow. MySpace doesn't get talked about anymore. This tells you You know how early 2000s was. These things are so funny. Like what happened in Napster?
According to Reddit, it turns out that the book Billy was writing, where he tells the story of this shapeshifter, has been abandoned. Why that would be, who knows? Apparently it had like 300,000 words in it, and a lot of work had gone into it, and we're never going to see it. Who knows why that would be, right? Now, bear with me here, because this is where we're about to turn a dark corner, and I think it all is going to link together in the end, and I'll tell you why, and I'm going to give you my thoughts on what that is, but we're about to go into like a new level. Now, the key detail in that email was that her face contorted and took a different shape, and her eyes were turning black, and this transformation is happening while she is getting off during a sexual interaction. This is the exact same details given by Juliet Bryant, the Jeffrey Epstein survivor, and literally to a T. And this video was in the last video that I did as well, but this is from a interview with Jay from Project Unity that is not new. Okay, this has been out a while. Check this out.
Can you explain what you mean by shape-shifting here?
Well, when I was in the bedroom with him, because he used to take me into that small bedroom, and it was always dark and really cold, and then it was almost like when he was orgasming or something. Like I looked at him and suddenly his face like grew big like this, and then I saw these huge black eyes like this, and then a big mouth with this horrible tongue and like this sort of dragon horn stuff, which is like almost like the devil, or you know. I mean, I can't explain really what I saw, because I saw him turn into this horrible creepy thing, and I wasn't on drugs, I wasn't drinking alcohol, nothing like that was allowed. You know, like a lot of people think there were parties going on there. There weren't any parties. There was no alcohol. Absolutely not allowed.
So there you go. Literally like the exact same details.
So once again, what they're saying with the shape-shifting was, and she even clarifies it by saying almost like the devil. So she's saying that this is a guy this dude turned into a demon, and we know who the dude is. I'm not gonna say it. We want his files. We want to impersonate all the sons of pregnant yaks, right? But honestly, this guy was doing demonic stuff with spiritual things. Like I showed in the previous video, before I started doing these videos a little bit cleaner and better. They have the building that's in Africa that's supposed to be holding the Ten Commandments, or the Ark of Covenant, I should say. When the Ark of the Covenant, if you don't know, has the Ten Commandments inside it. But supposedly, you know, he has that on this little island, right? And so it's like, okay, why do you want it there? And that was the significance I was wondering, which I'm still curious about. But apparently, I'm not saying he has the Ark of the Covenant, but he has that island that building on the island. It's the exact building of where it's supposed to be, and that's in Africa. It's crazy. So what I'm saying is there's definitely something spiritual there that he knew that most people don't. And so if this woman's saying this thing happened, then you got 100% believe it might have happened.
And like I said, this is where the story is going to take a really dark turn. And you might be thinking, right, like, you know, Epstein is the abuser. Tila Tequila is not an abuser, okay? If anything, I think she's a victim that's caught up in this dark Hollywood world. And we have to go down the rabbit hole before I can explain why. Now, just this week, and this is what I mean, this is all like synchronicity, things are coming out at the same time. Since I put out that video, just this week, someone who claims to be related to Jeffrey Epstein has just come out dropping like absolute bombs about what went on in her family and the history of the abuse and how far back it goes and how far reaching it actually is. And her name is Anya Wick, and she...
All right. So, the woman's name is Anya Wick, and the one he's about to show the video of. So I figured I'd take a pause and give you guys a little bit of what Google says, or the freaking what do you call it, Gemini. These names are stupid. Okay, because I forget what else is called Gemini. Oh, the stock thing. But anyway, so here's what they say about her before you watch the video, so you get a kind of more of a history on this woman.
I found information about an individual named Anya Wick in the context of a podcast episode where she is identified as Jeffrey Epstein's niece. The podcast title further describes her as a, quote, cult of Ba'al survivor and a voice for the voiceless. The context mentions her attempts to speak out were allegedly silenced by a judge, an FBI investigation, and a dismissive society. She was diagnosed with PTSD in 2015. In an attempt to escape a cult, she transitioned to male, taking testosterone and changing her name to Owen Theodore Epstein. She believes Jeffrey Epstein was a pawn, and his downfall was a distraction from a deeper cult that continues to operate. She alleges encounters with prolific figures, politicians, and celebrities, revealing a world where compromise, blackmail, and bribery ensure silence, with ritualistic abuse used to forge loyalty. As per your instructions, I have only provided the information available in the search results regarding Anya Wick.
So, as you just heard, she has ties in and a lot of other bad things wrapped together in a nice Christmas fruitcake. So, you know, this is nothing to play with. This is some serious stuff, even though I kind of made a pun there and I didn't laugh because it wasn't funny to me, but y'all probably laugh and I don't know why. But anyway, so this is something crazy, and now it's about to get really deep. It's about to get really dark, and it's going to hit the point where they're going to talk about the true enemy of Christ and God, okay? And why all this Illuminati stuff y'all talking about, all that, that's small game. They're small, petty, little minister demons that worship Morlock and some other crazy demons. But not this one. Not the big bad that God took down multiple times. And not the biggest bad of all, the devil. Okay? And the biggest bad of all is the devil. But this one is second to the devil, if not third, because Beelzebub is a whole different thing. There's many different devils and tons of demons, and they're all trying to fight for their one thing, their own personal hell, their own personal heaven, their own personal hell. To do that, they need to obtain souls, and you give your soul up in so many different ways, and a lot of you guys don't even recognize what's happening when it's happening. Okay, I try to explain a certain situation, and I will eventually explain what I think is happening, and y'all might not believe me, a lot of y'all might hate me, but when I heard it and saw it, I knew exactly what it was in the spirit world when it came to God. And it will be another video of hitting the truth. So, but right now, let's get back to the truth on this video. Okay, here we go. Prepare yourself. It's about to get dark. It's about to get so heavy that your brain's gonna get crushed by 2,000 tons. Well, 2,000 is a ton.
He appeared on the Sean Atwood podcast. So I'm going to play you a little clip of that, and then we'll keep getting into this.
It goes back for generations. It goes back for generations. I remember my father confessing that my oldest brother is 8 years younger than him.
You find the agency
Is cyclical.
and then you like find bands that are
With men, especially when they stifle it, they repeat the patterns, which I don't see as an excuse. I'm not a. But of course, this happens with men. And power and pressure to conform is excellent as a tool for silencing people. They told me that we belonged to the cult of Baal.
Boom, there it is right there. There it is right there. Okay, look at this man's face in this video. He knows. He knows. When I watched this video the first time and I heard it, I said, holy, what, you know? And I was like, what the I was tripping, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, God destroyed the enemy of Baal, right? And it did it with Elijah, right? And like they were trying to worship, they were trying to prove their God was better than Elijah's God. And they were like, we can bring fire from heaven. And they prayed their God, nothing happened. Elijah did it, happened instantly. That's one of the times that Baal was destroyed. And God wiped out everyone after that moment, proved that their God was faulty and fake and all this crap. And another time was the whole thing with Jezebel. She gets thrown out of a window, dogs devour her body and stuff. The whole thing is just crazy nonsense. But that was another time. But there was a time before that I can't remember in the Bible, but I can look it up again in this robot thing. And the thing about it is, it's like, wow, right? And then it was like, it just hit me like a ton of bricks when I heard that. Like, I'm like, wait a minute, Baal, these guys are gone. God wiped them out, right? But when you hear this woman finish talking about what she's talking about, it's like, whoa, it blows your mind. All this crap about children being sacrificed, taking the blood of children, all this stuff about, like, Hollywood people worshiping some demon that they don't know, and all these things. Everything you hear is all connected to this demon that was supposed to be destroyed centuries ago. Okay, I ain't no better word. I was gonna say decades, but centuries. Because that was supposed to be 2,000 years ago, 3,000 if you count that we just switched over to another 1,000 years. Well, it will be 1,000 once we get to the year 3,000. But it's crazy. It's crazy if you think about it. That's if you don't believe the theory that we're in the wrong timeline. There's a theory that says that we're actually supposed to be in the 1700s and that the people in the Dark Ages didn't really calculate the time, and they stepped ahead, wrote a time data way ahead, so it makes it look like we advanced technologically faster, but we're still in the 1700s or something like that. That's if you believe that theory. But, to each his own. And if that theory is right, then maybe we may be off from Judgment Day, but I highly doubt it, because everything going around, they do is look around and see that everything's an eternal damnation, But, yeah, this is some heavy stuff. If you read this part in the Bible with Elijah and Jezebel, and then in the Revelation they talk about Jezebel's, and people always talk about the Jezebel spirit, but do you really understand what Jezebel was, who she was, what she did around the time of Solomon? It's like, whoa, y'all gotta know your Bible, or this would blow your mind. Because as soon as you hear the phrase what she just said, you should be doing what this guy's doing. Is look at his face. Look at his face. He's like, oh my God. He's like, holy shit, what I find, what I step into. And the only people that would understand this right now is someone that's either Christian, that's read the Bible, or understands the wicked. Okay? That's the only ones. Otherwise, the rest of y'all just like, oh, what is that, man? Okay, whatever. Yo, this should be making you run for the hills. Because now it says this creature, this demonic being, has been here the whole time, manipulating mankind, hiding behind the scenes, altering our reality, changing the fates of people, so it can try to obtain their souls to get eternal damnation. This is crazy. Y'all don't know how deep this is. And so this is why I even decided to do this. But we're trying to hit the truth. And to me, the truth just got exposed with that one phrase this woman just said and the look on this guy's face. And so that's what got me with this video. Now, these other guys that watched this video and they did a review, and, they did a review or they dissected it by criticizing it and all this crap. One guy made fun of it. His whole thing was to make fun of Tila Tequila because he kept talking about reptilians and crap. Yo, once you say Baal and all this stuff that has to do with cults and things, you're talking demons. You're talking evil. And so it's like, you got to be on the guard. You got to have Jesus. You need an old priest and a young priest to cast things out, yo. This is not something funny. This is serious. If you have any belief in God and faith, I suggest you start praying and you start isolating yourself away from the wicked and start trying to find a way to fight for what's right. Trying to find a way to use your skills, your ability, your knowledge to do things that could change mankind around for a positive. Because the only way you can get rid of the darkness is to bring it to the light, if that makes sense. But let's get back to this video.
BA''AL. They told me this with consistency while I was being abused. Now, what you can look up about the cult of Baal, information that is publicly available, is that it is thousands of years old. It is a Phoenician satanic fertility cult. And publicly...
So pause right there when she says fertility cult. And it has to do a lot with this harem or some crap. It was old Sumerian text. Okay? This is some stuff, y'all. You have no idea. But what she just said, fertility. So it means getting girls pregnant, giving birth, prosperity of whatever nature. And this way is demonic nature. But that would explain the whole thing with the young girls in what's-name's island. Okay? That explained the whole thing of women coming into Hollywood being abused and manipulated, and essayed, as they say, on YouTube. But it's like, yo, whoa. I'm like, this is the part where it gets tough for me to get to this video. I knew it would once I started doing this video. Because you guys don't know what's happening right now. This is the golden egg right here. This is the goose that laid the golden egg. And you guys have been coming up with theories the whole time about Illuminati's and whatever other cult and under the scene this and that. And so this is it right here. This is the truth. You have no idea. She's. I'm gonna pull it back a bit. Listen to what she's saying that people do that worship this demon. Okay, it's a demon. It's not a devil. But if it's been hiding for thousands of years, like I told you, this is thousands of years old. This story is thousands of years old. Elijah died, if I remember through all my Bible studies and things, 600 years before Jesus was born. And Moses was dead 1,000 years before that. But Jesus was able to manifest both of them in front of him when he took the disciples up to a mountain. And he got there and he sat down. And on one side was Elijah, and on the other side was Moses. And then this cloud opened up above them, and a dove came upon them. And then I think it was Peter, or one of them, Peter, Peter, and he says, like, Lord, let me open up a tabernacle for you, Moses, and Elijah. They recognized Moses and Elijah, even though Elijah was dead 600 years before, or Moses long before that. They recognized both of them. How is that? When the people don't really remember what they look like at that time. They didn't have videos and things. How do they know that? Because there has to be something that was passed down so you can know your spiritual elders, your leaders, and all that of your people. Had to be, but we don't know that. It's like how people say Jesus, we don't know what he looks like, Man, this is so heavy, This is like crazy heavy, okay? But so anyway, so when Jesus did this, the dove appeared above a cloud, and said, like, this is my son who I love. Now this is the part in the Bible that gets overlooked when people say, well, Jesus isn't really the Son of God, right? But here in this story, this is, and if you look in the Bible, it's called the transfiguration, okay? The transfiguration of Jesus, right? For Christ. You can't remember, depending on what Bible, right? So when you read this part, you gotta understand what's happening here, because Moses went on top of a mountain. Everyone knows this. Moses went on top of the mountain. God created the 10 Commandments. He went up there before his light was glowing, because he could not look. No man should look in the face of God and live. But Moses did this, right? And he was glowing and stuff, right? And then the same thing with Elijah. He went up to the top of the mountain to talk to God, right? But here's the time Jesus comes. Both of those people are dead. He manifests both of them there, alive and well, having a conversation with both of them. Maybe in both time periods, they're having a conversation with God, but not realizing that they're there at the same time. So they probably only think that they're the only ones talking to God, and that God is only talking to them, not realizing the disciples are there. You know what I'm saying? So what's happening here, to put in a term for y'all that don't understand, is Jesus is transcending time and space. Okay, he's able to time travel by sitting there and bringing people from the past back alive. He's changing things in the atmosphere by making clouds and all this stuff. This is the most powerful thing Jesus has done, right? This makes Jesus Hero Nakamura from Heroes. It's like, serious, this is what it does, right? But it's like, I don't know, to me it's a thing. And I'm kind of going off topic, but you gotta understand what's going on here. This is beyond some freaking reptilians, okay? This is the fate of humanity being talked about right here. And this polarity, Josh guy, like he was saying in the beginning of the video, he doesn't really know what he stumbled upon. But I'm telling you, we have to prepare, because some of y'all have been dealing with these agents of Baal forever and don't even know. Yo, you didn't practice a whole lifestyle behind being wicked and evil because these people were behind what it is that you're doing. They can disguise themselves to look like your fellow street gangbanger, like your drug dealer, your store clerk or whatever. Like, I'm just saying, the cops, anything. It's all makes sense when you see this. So I'm just gonna stop. We'll pull it back a bit here so you can actually hear what she's saying, because everything she's saying is gonna fit in to what a lot of y'all's conspiracies is. Okay, so there we go.
Confessing that my oldest brother is 8 years younger than him.
You find the agency
Is cyclical.
and then you like find answers.
With men, especially when they stifle it, they repeat the patterns, which I don't see as an excuse. I'm not a. But of course, this happens with men. And power and pressure to conform is excellent as a tool for silencing people. They told me that we belonged to the cult of Baal, B-A''A''L. They told me this with consistency while I was being abused. Now, what you can look up about the cult of Baal, information that is publicly available, is that it is thousands of years old. It is a Phoenician satanic fertility cult. And publicly, it's supposed to have been eradicated.
Yeah, that's what I was telling you guys. This is why this is where it gets murky for me right there when she said that, because it's like, wait a minute. And so when I watched this and I heard that, first when she said Baal, like it never hit my mind. That's something I read, because I read a lot of stuff on myths, legends and stuff. Like, most people can read romance stories and all kinds of crap. Like, you know, if I'm going to read something real good as philosophy, it's going to be someone's mythologies, legends. I read that stuff. I absorb it. History, absorb it, right? Don't ask me why. It's always been that way. Comic books and stuff, yeah, because, you know, why not? You know, why not have superpowers and try to do whatever you can or what you feel is right by you? But that's, you know, made up. But when you talk about something like that, whoa, it'll blow your mind. But the murky part is what I've already explained. The cult of Baal was destroyed like 3,000, 6,000 years ago, like thousands of years ago. It's like somewhere in between, because it was just 2,000 since Jesus was dead. So it's before Jesus died. The reason why I say 3,000, because somewhere in there, Elijah was alive within the 3,000. If you go 3,000 years from now, but if you go back a little further, because you have to think about the whole thing of Esther, the whole thing of Daniel, and so it's like, I think the way it goes is Daniel came 8 years before Elijah, or maybe it's 8 years after Elijah. That part, it's been a while since I read the book. But if it's the other way around, then that would make him at least close to 6,000 years before. Now, there's a lot of religious knowledge to try to understand. But I'm telling you, they were wiped out. Elijah had this whole thing. And then, and the reason why I had to test it to Daniel, because because in Daniel, you know, him, Meshach, and Abednego, they all dealt with King Nebuchadnezzar, which we already know was the, you know, Babylonian king. And we got Ba'al, okay, and so it's like, okay, he's dealing with the Babylonian king. And so when Elijah was dealing with King Nebuchadnezzar, that's where we get the term Elijah bread, the bread that was actually made just for Elijah to eat, and because they were trapped and stuff. It's just this messed up time that happens, and God was able to help them through this bread that it was made. It's only a certain type of bread that's made spiritually. Now they added too many different details to change it up. But I think if you're going to make something from ancient times, you might as well do it exactly to the T by the instructions. But that's just the point. Is they tied the prophets intertwined there with this one king, and then the whole thing with Baal happened. So that was the last time. What happened with Elijah and the whole fire, and them trying to prove fire from the sky with their God, and him asking from Yahweh, God, Jesus, whatever, you know, can you bring fire upon us, is the last time they were destroyed. And so this is why when she says, well, they supposedly died thousands of years ago, I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Wait a minute here. Elijah defeated these guys. So, yeah, man, it's just too heavy. But I'm sorry I keep interrupting. I just said all this stuff before. But those of y'all that have not really paid attention to the spiritual text in the Bible, then I'm kind of waking you up to historical knowledge. There's some things, if you truly are of God, truly are Christian, truly are whatever faith you claim to be, when you hear certain things, it should make you pop eyes open like his was when he heard the thing. And like I'm like wow, whoa, wait a minute, you should hear that, you should understand that. And so this is why a lot of y'all are fake posers. And like they say, when judgment days come, a lot of people who claim to be with them ain't with them. And this shows that you're with them if you understand the enemy of God. So here we go.
But to my knowledge and my experience, it is not. This is what people perceive the Illuminati to be. It is.
Boom, see, she hit in the head. She telling you exactly what I just said.
A group of elites that practices forced and uses these crimes to control people. They happen to have a huge reach over politics and entertainment. My great-grandfather, according to my father, was Walt Disney. Before he moved to the United States, his name was Artur Bick, ARTURBICKE. And his twin sister, who he had children with, who I am descended from, was named Minnie. That's where we get Mickey and Minnie Mouse. It's very cute, right? Except for when you consider the abuse that I suspect is still happening to children who go into the entertainment industry.
So I'm pausing there. So let's talk about this, okay? I know I keep talking and whatever, stopping the video, but I'm telling you, this is crazy. So what she just said, what y'all think the Illuminati is the cult of Baal. Okay, that's what she's saying. She's telling you right then and there. It just makes sense. The stuff where you can't really hear her saying, she's telling you. All the crap we're talking about, people doing the nasty and different, sick, the disturbing, ungodly ways, is tied with it. The sacrifice, the blood drinking, all that. Okay? This is what that cult does. Okay? And you guys know them by another term. Okay? And if you don't, I'll let you know when they say it. But you know there's another term, and we got tons of cinema based off of the other term. Okay? And, man, it's so heavy. So the Disney thing, where she talks about Disney and how she's Disney's granddaughter through incest. Okay? I looked up Walt Disney's bloodline, and then you can look it up too. There's actually a guy who created a YouTube video where they talk about Walt Disney's bloodline. They talk about who he's related to, everything. And it's funny because if you believe what she's talking about, it all happened before he came to America. But as you see in the video that this guy created, none of the people she just mentioned, which is him and his sister or whatever, you know, it's a totally different story. Way different story. It's crazy. I don't know what to believe with the Disney thing, but I do believe the other part. And maybe it's the truth, because Walt Disney is obviously trying to do, how can I say this, entertainment takeover. I mean, just look at the things the past several years. They own Fox. They own Hulu. They own ESPN. They have already owned ABC. Okay? Now they own dang near all these other properties. Freaking Marvel. They own freaking George Lucas's Star Wars. They own like all the, I mean, go on and on and on. They pretty much bought up so much form of entertainment and has given us nothing but garbage that is now being manipulated, or should I say manipulating the people is what I'm trying to say. As he's throwing in all this politic crap and kid stories that no one cares about. Back in the day, in the 90s and stuff, you get like, you know, DuckTales, Darkwing Duck, Rescue Rangers, you get Tailspin. None of it's throwing in the manipulative, suggestive, subliminal suggestions about, you know, sexual gender crap or nonsense that has to do with, you know, politics or women's lib type of nonsense. Like women are just, I mean, let's get over the hump. Women can make money easier than crap while I'm sitting there struggling and barely can afford to live in the place I'm living. And struggling to eat sometimes, okay? Like, you can't afford to fix nothing. Like, women got it way easier than they think. Just put on some nice clothes, walk around, smile, and act like you're an ass kisser. Don't even realize what they got. Okay, while guys, we gotta fight and stripe and struggle. And I wasn't trying to turn into that. But what I'm trying to tell you is this. It makes sense that a company that wants to take over every aspect or aspect of society, entertainment, would be tied to some demonic behavior. It makes perfect logical sense. They always talk about Disney magic, you know, the magical kingdom. Okay? What magic is it? That's all I gotta say about that. Like, really, whose magic? What magic? Is it good magic? Is it dark magic? Demonic? Malevolent? Whoa. It's heavy shit.
So the big thing that we're going to pull from that is the cult of Ba'al. And we're going to get into that soon. But first, I found it really interesting that like she specifically referenced the Illuminati as like the widely known name for this somewhat secret, like satanic child abuse group.
You see, everything I'm saying is just, it makes sense. It's, like I said, if you're not aware of what this cult is, then, and you're not aware of the Bible or the knowledge of what I'm talking about, then you will overlook this crap. And the other two guys that did a review of this video overlooked it and just went all in this crap about reptilians. Had nothing to do with what the hell's going on here. What's going on here is way more powerful than them. Believe that.
Exactly what Tila Tequila called them and referenced them in that video that's from 2012. She was talking about the Illuminati. Now, she doesn't specifically talk about like satanic child abuse stuff, but when we see the connection between what Billy Corgan saw, what Juliet Bryant saw on Jeffrey Epstein, this lady, Anya Wick, is claiming to be from the Epstein family, his niece, and she's telling us about this 1,000-year-old cult of Baal, right? Now, and that they have a wide reach on politics and in the entertainment industry. Now, Jesse Michaels just did a fantastic 3-hour podcast with Jay from the Project Unity, the guy that interviewed Juliet Bryant and Kurt Metzger, where they went deep on Jeffrey Epstein's ties to, obviously, Israel's intelligence, but also his obsession with fringe science and surrounding himself with anybody who was at the top of their field.
So I'm pausing right there because now it's going to feel like I'm doing a review while this guy Josh is doing a review, while the other guy's doing a review. It's going to feel like 3 reviews at the same time.
Specifically from science, entertainment, and politics. They were the big ones.
What interests me and what we're going to cover on the show are the deeper threads around Jeffrey Epstein. What was he actually doing?
He certainly was not a financier in any standard sense.
Really?
That was a cover story, yes.
The thing with Epstein was he was obsessed with eugenics and creating his own race.
So they were taking eggs. They've got underground laboratories, right? I'm taken there in September. I think they've taken my eggs. They clone a baby in 2002. No one ever hears about anything again.
Perhaps one of the lesser-known threads about Epstein was his obsession with secret science. More specifically, his obsession with gravity and propulsion. He would fly physicists out to his island, Kip Thorne, Stephen Hawking, Murray Gell-Mann. He funded Lawrence Krauss on the order of $250,000.
Stephen Hawking has his book out. It's called The Universe in a Nutshell. I have the book. It's actually a pretty good read. I suggest you guys find it.
I desperately want to know why Jeffrey Epstein knew so much about my work. And I want to know why he was connected to my graduate program.
How did you know he was connected?
You can Google it.
On his little St. James Island, he built a temple with a cult.
So that right there, now I mentioned this before in another video, this building right here is an exact replica. It's a replica, y'all, of what this building looks like in Africa, where they say that these, I think they're Ethiopians or whatnot, have the Ark of the Covenant with the 10 Commandments inside. Now this tells you that there's some kind of spiritual connection to whatever he's trying to do. So it tells you exactly that this is not just a replica. It tells you he was dealing with some kind of spiritual thing. Not too many people know about this building and the structure or the legend behind the Ark of the Covenant being inside. If you go to the place where this actually is, there's guards around it, and they've been there for centuries. They sit there, they're like descendants of the father and the grandfather that all sat there and took an oath to protect what's inside this thing, which has strong supernatural significance to both Christianity and Judaism. And so it's something where it can't be ignored that this thing is here. But let's hear what they say.
Symbology. And one of his victims claimed to see a UFO while on Zora Ranch. It was like he was a front, a global honey trap for secret science, arbitraging the lameness of modern academia and the sexual repression of its scientists. Perhaps the weirdest through line with Epstein when it relates to UFOs is the fact that former OSS officer Donald Barr was headmaster of the Dalton Preparatory School around the time that Epstein got his job as a teacher there. Remember, the OSS was the predecessor to the CIA.
So the OSS, or in some cases there's another term for it, but yes, it was the CIA. A lot of their experiments and things that are hidden are classified. Even though they're switched over to CIA, they're still classified documents from the OSS. And a lot of people don't recognize this. Once again, people got to know their history. There's so much stuff out there. The truth is out there, y'all. You know, and we're trying to hit at it right now. And so I want you guys to start trying. If you're going to be interested in anything, it's best to know your knowledge instead of just thinking you know everything. And I'm telling you, just go do it for yourself. If anything, don't worry about what other people think, or think some crap based off of some ignorant sense of something you was taught when you were a kid to hate other cultures or something. Just learn it, and you'll be surprised later on in life when things pop up like this whole ball thing right now. So anyway,
Donald Barr wrote a sci-fi book called Space Relations about a future where humans have formed an intergalactic empire ruled by aristocrats. Half the book is about this intergalactic elite class systematically trading underage sex slaves and often using them to gain leverage over other elites. Ring a bell?
If you haven't already, go and check that podcast out. I'm going to leave links for everything we look at today below, so you can go and do your own research, which I highly recommend. But I think to anyone who is paying attention in 2025, it's clear that some kind of blackmail operation is happening in the United States. We're told that the Epstein list is on the desk, ready to be released, and now next minute there's no list. Okay, that is clearly false, and I think it implies that the government is compromised, and it seems like it is in the form of blackmail. Child abuse and just abuse in general in Hollywood is not a new story. R. Kelly, P. Diddy, there are so many victims, yet it all just gets kept so quiet, and it never really feels like a justice is served. Sometimes people get a smack on the wrist, they serve a little bit of time, but the problem doesn't actually seem to go away. And we've heard from many people that to climb these ladders in these kind of spaces, you kind of have to engage with this stuff, because that's how they control you. If you're going to be allowed to have so much influence and reach, you need to be controlled. Why did Diddy need 5,000 bottles of baby oil? Why have 50 Cent, Cat Williams, and Terrence Howard all said the same things about him?
Who knows what happened to Philip? Who knows what Heath had to do in order to get to where he was at? There's a lot of things that people do that end up sitting and they can't get over it. And they got to keep getting high, hoping to get it out of their head. But when you lose your man card, you don't get that back.
Are you saying what I think you're saying?
No, I'm saying what I'm saying. But when you give up your manhood, I've never seen somebody recover from it. That was all the people that went to the puffy parties. That was all the people that did all those things thinking that there was never going to be a consequence for what they were doing.
Now, I've had to turn down $50 million 4 times.
Cat Williams is more outspoken about crazy stuff going on in Hollywood. You just got to understand that maybe somewhere in his early career, he was looked upon as maybe prey, or maybe someone that they thought they could be on their side in a more of a top thing. But the thing about him goes back to what they were saying about Alex Jones, or at least what Tila Tequila was saying about Alex Jones. How can someone speak so much and not be taken out? Even though there was some recent thing about him and a comedian that got shot, and I guess Monique was there, and they were trying to blame it all on Cat Williams. That could be the thing that they were trying to do to get rid of and silence Cat Williams. It's all crazy stuff here that's being said, but you gotta understand there's always a price to pay. And if you're in Hollywood, what it always has been is a place that takes you, use you up for a time, and spits you back out. I mean, there's actresses that, look what happened to Shelley Duvall that played Popeye's wife in the movie, and she played in the early 80s and 70s. She was kind of big, and she did a lot of stuff. And out of nowhere, she's mentally ill. She's on her own. There's all this crap going on with her, and then she ends up dying. And it's crazy. Same thing with the Margot woman that played Lois Lane in the original stuff with Christopher Reeves. She had some issues too, and it's what happened? How did she become homeless? And a lot of people in Hollywood, and so you're wow, what is going on? And you wouldn't think of it because you look at them as these big idols, these heavenly people in a way, because that's what they look at. People that are in power or that are wealthy or even celebrities, they're always looked high upon compared to the rest of us that work hard ass jobs. They have to worry about paying bills and stuff, and for a minute when you think of these people, you don't think about that stuff. And I think that's why they're there, as a distraction, to take you away from the reality of the crap you're in and make you go, oh wow, I like this person, I like that, and so forth. But reality still hits you hard, bro. It hits you hard and knocks you off the place, and then you're like, dang, I gotta get back on track. You know what I'm saying? And so we should not be that invested in these celebrities. It should not be that investment in entertainment. Just take it for a while and be like, okay, this is cool, whatever. Like, I watch movies. I used to watch movies constantly, but now I just watch like one a week or two, maybe, and only on the weekends. You know, all these things are distractions, and if all these distractions are out here, you got to wonder, what are they distracting you from? And I believe it's this cult of Ba'al, as well as a lot of other sinister things that I haven't even talked about, but I'm going to get to on this show. But here we go.
Times. 4 times, just to protect my integrity and that virgin hole I was telling you about. Right, because P. Diddy be wanting to party, and you gotta tell him no. You got to tell him no. I did. I did. See, I got the receipts for everything I'm telling you. That's why I can say them so freely.
Like all these years, you've been the only one calling this out.
I look like I've been the crazy guy for a long time.
They said you're a hater. They
You're a hater. You do this, yeah. And now everybody's complaining. My ass is hurting. There's all this shit that's coming.
50, you can't make jokes about it.
No.
The internet might come for you, bro.
All I'm saying
is might come for you.
You see it now. All of these complaints. People were damn. They were and pillaged.
Puffy invited me for weeks, asking me to come and teach him how to, wanted me to be his acting coach for a while. Go there, and he's sitting around just looking. So then my assistant was like, he wants to hang out with you next week. And I was like, for what? He's like, I think he's trying to fuck you. That's what my assistant said. And I was like, oh.
If I had to guess, I'm going to say that P. Diddy was the expendable idiot running this operation in the entertainment industry on behalf of this Ba'al cult. Okay? And I know that's a wild story, but just wait. We're going to get into it. Because many child actors have spoken out about the sexual abuse that they've suffered in Hollywood. And a big one that comes to mind is from one of my favorite movies growing up, Stand By Me.
So, yeah, this is Corey Feldman. But Corey Feldman was so big. And he killed freaking Jason, okay? What I was going to say was, I didn't even think about that part, that Diddy would be the main source of entertainment connection to this cult, but it does make a lot of sense. I actually forgot about that part of this video. Corey Feldman here, though, well known for speaking out about his child abuse, but it's so crazy because he was a kind of protected child actor in a way. Him and Corey Haim, and he did so many movies together that you would think they were biological brothers, but not by last name, but by first name. It's so crazy, and it's so sad.
Oh, my dad loony again, and I'll kill you. Loony.
I can tell you that the number one problem in Hollywood was and is and always will be pedophilia. That's the biggest problem for children in this industry.
The casting couch even applies to children.
Oh yeah. Not in the same way. It's all done under the radar.
Nobody talks about pedophilia.
It's the big secret.
Corey Feldman was one of the biggest child actors of his time, and his career just basically got extinguished because the story came out that he was a drug addict, like so many childhood stars become out of Hollywood, right? Well, he made a documentary about it, trying to tell his truth, and it was basically just like shut down and wiped from the internet. So when I was making this video, because I already knew about the Corey Feldman story, that was kind of the first place that I decided to look. I tried to find some clips of Corey speaking out, and you wouldn't believe it. 3 months ago, he sat down for a podcast to talk about the dark side of Hollywood with none other than Billy Corgan. I've got a few clips from that I want to show you, and they both say things that just reinforce everything that we have looked at in this video so far.
I hope you understand the gist of the way I'm asking. When you feel like it's personal.
So this part here. This part is a trip because as much as people like to discredit Corey Feldman, he actually is lining up with everything that Smashing Pumpkins man is talking about. Okay? Like they're connected on the same wavelength with this crap, which tells you that none of us know what the hell is going on in Hollywood for them to know, for a guy to be discredited, because this is what Corey Feldman, as soon as he became an adult, he's discredited. None of that happened. All the stuff you're saying about Charlie Sheen, all these people, this stuff never happened. Something's wrong with you, you know. Corey Haim dies, but he kept trying to tell people Corey Haim was sexually abused by Charlie Sheen. All this crap. And it's like, whoa, what the hell is really going on? But this guy right here, Smashing Pumpkins, man, and I'm telling you, it's a trip with this guy, because I can name off some badass freaking grunge bands from back in the day, in the 90s, that were way more popular than Smashing Pumpkins and had better tunes. But, you know what I mean, like I said, their one great song, to me, was that Rage song or whatever. And so, I believe that was enough to make them just blow up. That's probably one, I don't know, I never looked at how much the record sales was, but I know it had to be a number one at one point in time. But yeah, it's just a trip, just how connected they are, and that's why he's playing this video.
No. I oftentimes find myself wondering, what's the crime?
Right.
So, like, what crime have you committed?
Being a child of Hollywood. I mean, that's the crime. The crime is, there's what I've come to realize. I don't know if you got to see my film when I put it out, My Truth.
I've not seen it.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's hard to find since we don't allow it to be out there anymore, because it was stolen, it was pirated, and it was given out.
I did read about that.
And all of this stuff. I mean, it was one of the most heinous, horrendous, horrible receptions of a cry for help that I've ever seen in my life, and Hollywood should be ashamed of it. But
so that's your crime.
Well, my crime was that I was a kid who was molested, who was given drugs. And so what do they do to those kids? They make sure that they don't have the power of a voice when they get older. So that basically you're, the unsung hero, you're everybody's favorite, you're the future of Hollywood, you're the golden child, and then you turn 18 and it's like, oh, here. And you're like, wait, what? 6 months ago I was the golden child. What happened? Oh, but he got arrested for drugs. His career's over. What? What do you mean? I'm 18 years old. I'm just getting started. Yes, I did have a drug problem because you people gave me drugs.
Yeah.
So that right there at the deposit, because it reminded me of, I can't remember his name, but he played John Connor in Terminator Judgment Day. The only best John Connor there ever was in Terminator. He was supposed to be given a role to be in Terminator 3. And the day before, he was supposed to get cast or something, or go to the set or whatever it was for a table read type of thing. He went to a club with some friends, and they said that he had a couple drinks, and all of a sudden he blacked out. And when he woke up, he was in something, and then later on, his manager or something came to him and said, that he wasn't going to be in the movie. And that kind of sounds like what he's talking about right here to me, is that they just gave him some drugs. Like, they wanted to destroy his career, because he was another person that was like a child actor that was getting big. Around that time, him being John Connor, and then you got Kevin McAllister, which is, Macaulay Culkin, who was already being big. I mean, Macaulay Culkin blew up so much, you got used to this kid being an actor. And he wasn't just doing like little Disney shows. He never really did shows. He did straight Hollywood movies, which means he was like the most popular and should be the most wealthiest person on the planet from being a kid at that point and having millions of dollars and people watching his movies. But his father took his money, which is an ongoing thing with parenting and children actors and stuff. The whole damn thing is just wrong. Either way you look at it, all of it's wrong, but I brought up the story with John Connor because it's just so odd that if you hear him tell the story, and maybe one of these days I'll find the video, but if there's this like video where they question him on what happened to his life, because he ended up becoming like nobody, and he was the most popular, most famous kid ever to be in an action movie. Action movie like in the 80s and 90s, that's all we watched back then as guys and stuff. And to have a little kid that was a badass, and not to be able to be in the sequel, and the guy that picked in the sequel, man, come on. Or the third one was like, no, come on, this guy's bad. But yeah, that's how the story goes. He talks about going to a club and they drugged him. He wakes up and he's like, what happened? You know, and the other guy explains it. I can't remember that part of the story, but look it up. Like look up John Connor at a club or whatever. I don't know how to say it. That you can find it in Google, or YouTube. But if you do, you'll see what I'm saying. So I think what Corey Feldman is talking about here makes perfect sense, because there's other stories similar to that. The girl from Different Strokes, how she ended up becoming like a drug addict. I think if I remember, they robbed something back in the day and she went to jail. And then there was so on and so forth. There's so many stories of these child actors. It's just mind-boggling, you know. And then that is the memory. It becomes somebody's memory after that.
Tend to get addicted when you're given drugs as a kid, right?
Yeah.
And especially if you've got years and years of abuse that you're trying to squelch the pain from, it's kind of obvious that there's going to be a problem. And they know this. You know, this isn't the first time this has happened. It's a systemic issue.
I say this in sort of brotherhood, not to glom onto your story, but like, if we're playing the game on what's your crime, my crime was telling the truth about my generation.
Right. And my crime was the same.
They hated that I told the truth, that this generation that was presented as integral and everybody was too cool for school. I kept saying, no, this is totally full.
So you're seeing a lot of the same themes there in what Anya Wick spoke about, this being fed drugs, this systemic abuse that runs in families and is just, you're kind of born into it, and that's just like the way it is there, which is just sick. But again, like, these are all stories that we've heard before from other people as well. In this next clip, I think Billy is speaking about what he saw with Tila Tequila and potentially elsewhere, but without actually explicitly saying it. Given what we now know, I think you'll agree with me when you listen to this next clip.
What's interesting, I think, about your journey in this lifetime is, did you ever see it was a movie, but it was also a famous book, Day of the Locust? Do you know this book?
I don't.
Nathaniel West was a writer, I think 30s, 40s Hollywood. He only wrote a couple famous books, and I think he either killed himself or something happened. But one of the movies was made into a movie around 1975. It's about a guy who's like an art director working in 30s Hollywood. And there's a cast of characters, and he goes crazy at the end of the movie. But like one of the characters in the movie is like a Shirley Temple type character with like a child star, but it's a wannabe situation. He falls in love with like an ingenue who's hoping to make it in Hollywood, and he gets to see. So imagine a 30s take on dark Hollywood before there was ever such a thing as the take of dark Hollywood. Does that make sense the way I'm explaining it?
Yeah.
Imagine somebody writing way back then about dark Hollywood before anybody even knew about dark Hollywood.
Right.
Okay.
But because it existed.
Yes, what I'm saying is, I can read that book or I can see some documentary, but you've lived dark Hollywood.
Yeah.
Like, not the mythology version, like the real version of dark Hollywood.
And I didn't even realize it until I put my documentary out. And it wasn't until that moment that I realized how real it really was, how much of a force it really was.
Oh, yeah.
And how much power and control they have over media, technology, everything that we do. And
again, he's saying it wasn't even the abuse that he suffered. It was when he realized the power and control that they have over everything. Again, the same things that Anya Wick was saying.
The reason that I learned this the very hard way was because in the moment that I premiered my film, which I did completely on my own because I knew they would never give me the shot. I knew that I went to a few of the big places like Netflix and blah, blah, blah to try to get distribution deals. Nobody wanted to touch it. Nobody wanted to look at it. I'm like, but you're doing the Epstein documentary.
Or murder porn.
You're doing this, right. But what's wrong with what I'm talking about?
You didn't murder anybody.
Right. But also it's about kids being victims. That's the part they don't want to admit. Like, yeah, we can talk about Harvey Weinstein raping women. We can talk about the fact that there's terrible people that sometimes get away with stuff. But we don't want to admit that there's kids that are getting molested in our business. God forbid.
As much as I've been behind the wizard's curtain in
this bit
plus years in coming to this town, there are powerful forces at play that I don't understand, but I know they exist. So when you tell me what you're telling me, without knowing any specifics, without knowing any of the specific people, I know what you're saying is true. Does it make sense? And I hope that translates to anybody I would say it for.
I hope so too.
So I have to pause it on top of what he paused, because what he just said, if you pay attention to what he said, if you know a little bit without knowing any specific people, which means he knows people that got this power over whatever they can do to hide the information, to do these things and not have any consequences. And if you don't, if you just pay attention, I'm trying to pull it back. I'm not that good with pulling it back, but just pay attention to what Billy's saying here.
Plus years in coming to this town. There are powerful forces at play that I don't understand, but I know they exist. So when you tell me what you're telling me, without knowing any specifics, without knowing any of the specific people, I know.
See, without knowing any, people, without knowing the people, which means he knows what's going down. He knows more people than Tila Tequila.
You're saying is true. Does it make sense? And I hope that translates to anybody I would say it for.
I hope so too.
Because to people who don't know it, it just sounds like kind of a weird fairy tale.
Yeah.
Because who wants to believe?
And not only that, but they're going to write 100 stories that play to the idea that it is a weird.
But I think we're savvy enough in the world, given the political seasons of the last 10 years, that people are starting to really understand the difference between, let's call it, the media propaganda and narratives. But it's hard for people to believe that the Magic Factory, which is what this town is, that there's this other side to the Magic Factory.
There's an alchemy behind it, right?
Well, that gets into a lot of different things, right?
Very interesting.
So that part there is Corey Feldman realizing he knows, and he's asking him. He's actually asking him a question right here. Okay, when you pay attention to what Corey Feldman says, because alchemy is the old magic. It's actually the mother to science in a way. And if we heard everything we heard about Jeffrey Epstein, they said he had scientists on his island, you understand, and he's doing black magic. So it's all tied together, yo. Alchemy was created in the kitchen, as they say. Y'all should know. You watched The Alchemist, all right? So pay attention.
100 stories that play to the idea that it is a weird.
But I think we're savvy enough in the world, given the political seasons of the last 10 years, that people are starting to really understand the difference between, let's call it, the media propaganda and narratives. But it's hard for people to believe that the Magic Factory, which is what this town is, that there's this other side to the Magic Factory.
There's an alchemy behind it, right?
See, he's asking that question. You know what I'm saying? Because he's like, oh, this guy. He's kind of laughing about it, too. He's like, damn. He even understands me. He understands me, but he knows.
Well, that gets into a lot of different things, right?
Very interesting term that Corey throws in there. There's an alchemy behind it. I mean, what does he mean by that? I don't know. But I think you can tell there from what Billy Corgan is saying, he knows that there is like a dark, evil force because he's seen it. Saw someone shapeshift. He's seen someone's eyes turn black. Seen their face contort. And these people apparently come from the cult of Ba'al. And I think Corey Feldman, Billy Corgan, Juliette Bryant, and Tila Tequila, even though she seems to be involved in this somehow, are all talking about this cult of Ba'al. And we're going to get to the root of them and how they got to where they are today in a moment. But there's just one more clip I want to show you to just really drive home the dark side of Hollywood.
How much?
Shoot, I paused it right when it started. So this is, like I said, it's a long video, and I know I'm stretched it out longer than what it already is. But the thing about it is, we're not done. But I'm taking a break. So we're not done. But this is just really deep, and this part right here, it means a lot that even though Corey Feldman has his own problems, it means a lot that Billy Corgan, or whatever, decided to take his time to reach out to him. And I think it's because he understands that he himself, but it looks like he's keeping himself well together, proper, but it looks like he's trying to be on the same level as Corey Feldman, where he's like, I'm not really digging this Hollywood thing. I'm famous, whatever, music legend kind of semi. It depends on if you like Smashing Pumpkins, but you know, but he's not part of that. So he's just talking about it. But to me, even the setting he's in kind of looks a little bit sinister. So you never know what field he's playing in, because like I said a minute ago, he said, without knowing the people, you know a little bit without even knowing the people, he said. And so I was like, he knows people, but it doesn't have to be Tila Tequila. This man knows people. Musicians know famous people. Michael Jackson knew world leaders, yo. Okay? And all kinds of stuff. So believe that this man has to know more people in power, because hey, music makes the soul jump, makes people just jump up for joy. So people want to all be around it, and so that's the thing. But yeah, we're gonna come back to this in a second. Okay, people, I'm back, and yes, I've changed my clothes again. I just took my sweater off. Literally, you have no idea how early in the morning it is. I'm working on this. But anyway, so I decided to ask Gemini questions about Baal and the people who worship him. So I asked the question, tell me everything about the people who worship Baal.
The term Baal, or Baal, refers to a powerful ancient deity, and Baal worshippers were primarily the people of the ancient Canaanite and Phoenician cultures. Here is a breakdown of the people, practices, and concepts associated with Baal. Ancient Baal worshippers, the Canaanites and Phoenicians. Identity. Baal was the supreme god in the pantheon of the Canaanites, who lived in the Levant, modern-day Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, and Israel-Palestine, during the 2nd and 1st millennia BCE. His worship also spread widely via the Phoenicians, who were great maritime traders throughout the Mediterranean, including to their colonies like Carthage. The god, the name Baal, is a Northwest Semitic title meaning Lord or Master. It was used for local deities, but the most important Baal was the storm god, Baal Hadad. Attributes. He was the god of rain and storms. Crucial for agrarian societies dependent on seasonal rainfall, unlike Egypt or Mesopotamia, which relied on rivers. He was often called the rider of the clouds and depicted holding a lightning bolt. Fertility. He was believed to bring vitality, enabling the earth to produce crops, livestock to reproduce, and people to have children. Kingship and war. He was the active, intervening god who often defeated the gods of the sea, Yamu, and death, Mot. Ancient practices and rituals. Baal worship was fundamentally tied to ensuring the cycles of nature, fertility, and prosperity. Ritual prostitution, sacred prostitution. Worship was often described as being rooted in sensuality, involving both male and female temple prostitutes. These sexual acts were believed to be a form of imitative magic, meant to arouse the god and ensure fertility on the earth. Sacrifice. Offerings were made to ensure the right amount of rain would fall. In extreme cases, particularly with the regional god Baal Hamon, associated with Carthage, sources suggest the practice of human sacrifice, often the firstborn, was carried out. Ecstatic rites. Priests of Baal were known for appealing to their god in rites of wild abandon, which included loud, ecstatic cries and self-inflicted injury, as famously described in the Bible during the confrontation with the prophet Elijah on Mount Carmel. Baal, in the context of ancient Israel, the Israelites' struggle against Baal worship is a major theme in the Old Testament, particularly during the time of the Judges and Kings. Syncretism.
And Numbers.
The challenge for the early Hebrews was not always replacing their god, Yahweh, with Baal, but often blending the two forms of worship, called syncretism. They would worship Yahweh for historical redemptive events, like the Exodus, and look to Baal as the god for their daily agrarian needs, rain, crops. Anathema. The name Baal became anathema, cursed, to the Israelites when Queen Jezebel, a Phoenician princess, aggressively promoted her native Baal cult in opposition to the official worship of Yahweh, circa 9th century BCE. Beelzebub, the Philistine version of Baal, known as Baal-zebub, meaning Lord of the Flies, was later linked to the devil and appears in the New Testament as Beelzebub. Modern interpretation of Baal. While there are no major, publicly recognized religious groups today that openly practice the ancient Canaanite rituals of Baal worship, the name is used in several modern contexts. Occult and demonology. Baal, often spelled Baal or Beelzebub, is a prominent demon or spirit in some occult and esoteric traditions, particularly in grimoires like the Lesser Key of Solomon. Biblical/theological commentary. Many conservative Christian commentators use the spirit of Baal as a metaphor for various forms of modern-day idolatry, which they view as replacing the worship of God with worldly concerns. These modern idols are often cited as materialism and greed, sexual immorality/pornography, promotion of what they view as non-traditional family or gender roles, general worldliness, and moral decay. Do you want to know more about the historical artifacts related to Baal, such as the Ugaritic tablets?
Okay, so what you just said there at the end is what the cult's really about today. Okay? Materialism, greed, sexual immorality, pornography, promote of what they view as non-traditional family or gender roles. That's the whole transgender stuff. Okay? General worldliness, which means, and it's the same thing when you say secular music or non-secular. When you say worldliness, or those that are in the world, meaning those that understand the pop culture, those who understand the new slang every year or every 5 years, whatever they change the words up that makes no sense. Like taking lie and now saying cap is the most retarded thing I've ever heard of. And because I'm saying a lot of godly stuff, I don't want to say a lot of foul language. Or I would tell you how that word can go off and do something with itself. But honestly, this is the thing. And moral decay. Moral decay is the other thing that the cult worships. So then I asked man, I'm going through changes. But anyway, hopefully you're still watching. If you're still watching, please subscribe to my channel. It helped me out to make more stuff like this with my little researches and things. So then the next question I asked was, did you mention all of the times God destroyed them? Now the reason why I said all the time is because I've mentioned to you already about Elijah, which was the biggest thing, they did to try to destroy Baal, this cult. It was when Elijah went to the top of the mountain to try to destroy him. But I totally forgot about what happened in Numbers and stuff. And Numbers is Moses' times, okay? But she describes it in a different way, or at least this program describes it in a different way, by saying that when they were in exile in the woods and the wilderness, which means, so when they escaped from Egypt, they had 40 years or whatever it was that they were out there in the wilderness with Moses. And the thing they hate about this part of the story is with Moses and Exodus and Numbers and Deuteronomy and all that, is the fact that they are seeing all these miracles. I mean, it's crazy as hell. But I can believe the way mankind is. Because, I mean, right now, people will see stuff and go, oh, that was fake, oh, that didn't happen, or that wasn't real. Like, even me, like, when the Twin Towers fell, I remember that day very well. I'm not going to explain a lot of stuff that happened the night that led up to the morning of me seeing the plane hit the building, but I remember watching on TV and I was like, what movie is this? What is it? What am I watching right now? And then they were talking about it. I'm like, oh well, and I didn't understand the significance behind it until later on. But there's lots of other things like that. I can go on about so many different stories of things I've seen, but stuff I have seen that's in the supernatural world, like spirits, demonic things, things y'all call ghosts, like, spirits, because I know what they really are. I can't doubt that. I can't doubt what I've seen. And telling people just makes you sound crazy. Oh, that didn't happen. Because in all reality, there's people that can imagine and other people who can't. There's people who can have inner monologue, where you can talk in your head and plan out your day and pray and all kinds of stuff, and there's people who don't. Okay? There's people who can spiritually tap into things, feel energies when you're walking around, when other people don't. I'm one of the people that can feel energies. I feel things. That's why I stay away from people, because I don't like being around negative energy. And there's some things where you get in that mood where it's fight or flight, and you just want to punch somebody, get the hell out of there. You know what I'm saying? Or punch somebody, get a point across. So it's like, there's people that can do these things. And the people that can do these things, like myself, like many others, you're the real people. all these other people that can't think and they don't take time to shut their mind down, or you know what I'm saying, they can't imagine doing something, or don't take the time to try to create something or learn something. These are the fake ones, the ones that's been programmed in society through natural birth to be labormen, to be workers, to be drones, flesh, biological drones. And you can't sit there and say, okay, well, they're just like, no, they're not. Some of them are put in there and already programmed with stuff through the parents, or a word that's used a lot nowadays, handler. You know what I'm saying? That teaches them how to be racist, teaches them how to be obsessed with some weird politics or some weird group or organization. And then they walk out in society on a normal day basis using the stuff they're brainwashed and programmed with. And so they don't have an imagination. They don't have true thoughts of their own. They have all the thoughts that were implanted in them by the person that raised them or taught them how to do something. And so this is the truth of the nature of things in society. And so I'm saying this for a reason, is because what we're talking about here is so deep. Like I said, so deep. It'll blow your mind. So here's so like I said, the second thing I asked was, and I'm not done with the video either. I want to just sit back and see what the thing had said. That way I'm just saying stuff. Like I said, I had this thing happen a couple months ago with YouTube, and I mentioned something about a doctor, and you can look the guy up. And matter of fact, I might look it up just to do a whole show about it. But I remember a PBS episode, and I grew up with PBS. A lot of people did in the 80s and stuff. A lot of people didn't have cable, and if you did, you know, whatever, you know, you could watch cable shows, but cable was something new at the time. It wasn't like something where everyone had it, and those who did, yeah, you had shows to watch. Like MTV was the main thing I watched, and other things like HBO and things like that. But the thing about it was, so people watch PBS, so people were a lot more smarter than they are now, believe it or not. People are way more smarter in the fact that you have all the information here at your fingertips. You know what I mean? But not too many people do it. Once again, there's people who do, people who don't. And people who don't, there's something different about them. They've already been programmed, so why do they even know more information? You see what I'm saying? So I said, did you mention all the times that God destroyed them? Like I said, multiple times. This is a demon that has been wiped out multiple times. Beelzebub is a strong demon. Okay? He's a strong devil, because he went from demon to devil. But here like I said, I forgot all about numbers and stuff. So I'm just going to play it and let you listen, because I got one more. And then I'll go back to the video. I'm sorry. I'm getting hiccups, this coffee or something else.
That's a very specific question rooted in the narratives of the Old Testament. The Bible recounts a few major instances where God's judgment, either directly or through human agents acting on his command, resulted in the destruction of large numbers of Baal worshippers or the complete eradication of the cult. Here are the three most significant times described in the Bible. 1. The plague at Baal Peor, Numbers 25. Context. This occurred while the Israelites were in the wilderness, before entering the Promised Land. The men of Israel began
so just so you know, she's talking about Moses' time right now.
To participate in the worship and sexual immorality associated with the Moabite and Midianite god Ba'al of Peor. The judgment. This act of idolatry provoked God's wrath, and he sent a plague upon the people. The result. The Bible records that 24,000 Israelites died in the plague as a direct consequence of their sin and association with Baal Peor worship. 2. The showdown on Mount Carmel. 1 Kings.
This is the one I talked about already.
Chapter 18. Context. This took place during the reign of King Ahab and Queen Jezebel in the northern kingdom of Israel, where Baal worship was the state religion. The prophet Elijah challenged the 450 prophets of Baal to a contest to determine the true God. The judgment. The prophets of Baal failed to get their God to light their water-drenched sacrifice. Elijah prayed, and fire from heaven instantly consumed his sacrifice, the wood, the stones, and the water in the trench. The result. After the people acknowledged the God of Israel, Elijah ordered the people to seize the prophets of Baal and brought them down to the Kishon brook, where they were slaughtered. 1 Kings chapter 18 verse 40.
Now see, that was supposed to be the time that wiped them all out. Okay? Because if you wash out the leaders, then of course the people would fall. But it wasn't the last time.
3. The Great Purge by King Jehu, 2 Kings chapter 10. Context. God chose Jehu to be king specifically to execute judgment on the wicked house of Ahab and eliminate Baal worship from Israel. The judgment. Jehu acted with ruthless zeal. He first killed the ruling family. Then, he used deception to gather all the remaining prophets, priests, and worshippers of Baal into the temple of Baal for a supposed great sacrifice. The result. Once the temple was full, Jehu's guards and captains went in and killed every single Baal worshipper inside. They then tore down the sacred pillar and the temple, effectively wiping out the entire cult of Baal from Israel at that time. These three events represent the most explicit and large-scale judgments recorded in the Old Testament against the followers of the Baal cult. Would you like to know more about the historical artifacts or archaeological evidence of Baal worship?
Okay, so like I said, this is heavy. And so right there I was like, okay, what else can I talk about to show you guys? Or asked it, so, you know, I need to prove some information. So then the next thing I said, well, because this video is clearly stating how these people have survived to that. And so I was like, has anything to do, or well, didn't catch the first part where I said, does the cult have anything to do with them today? But anyway, so this is what she said, or it said, whatever. I like making my voice people female, because females' voices are more comfortable to me until they start screaming and nagging and stuff. But plus, I'm talking about his greatest enemy and how you guys need to be aware of this enemy and be able to defeat it. This video might be weird how I edited it. The conversation might be deep. But to me, this means a lot right now to try to work on this and explain it to you guys. And I believe it meant a lot to this guy, Josh, at Polarity, that created his video. And so, once again, shout out to Polarity, shout out to the dude, Josh. Watch their content, because it's probably way better than mine. Way better than mine. I'm just filling in the gaps. And so here we go. So like I said, I asked the question, which it only gets, I hate when you talk to Google and stuff, and it only gets half of what you're talking about. or puts a word in there that you didn't even say. And like, no, I didn't say that, especially when you're texting somebody. Never mind, let me stop. Y'all know what I'm talking about. 21st century problems with technology. But anyway, I said, oh man. So it picked up, has anything, I was like, does the Baal cult has anything to do with them today, like, or whatever. It understood my broken English.
The influence of Baal today manifests in three primary ways: as a literal deity in a very small religious revival, as a major demon in occultism, and most significantly, as a powerful metaphor for modern societal idolatry within religious commentary. 1. The spirit of Baal. Religious metaphor. This is the most widespread contemporary use of the term, primarily found in Christian and biblical commentary. It is used as a metaphor for any form of worldly idolatry that was characteristic of ancient Baal worship. Idolatry of prosperity. Baal was the god of wealth and fertility. Today, this is equated with materialism, greed, and the pursuit of success and luxury over moral or spiritual values. The bull, a symbol of Baal, is even mentioned as a symbol for the stock market. Idolatry of sexual immorality. Ancient Baal cults were known for temple prostitution and fertility rites, orgies. Today, this is cited as manifesting through the glorification of lust in entertainment, the pornography industry, and the promotion of various forms of sexual license and non-traditional sexualities, often linked to the ancient gender-bending aspects of his female counterpart, Asherah. A culture
See this? Are you hearing this? This is everything they're talking about.
of death. Some commentators connect Baal, or his close companion Molech, who demanded child sacrifice, to
Okay, that's the. I'm saying it wrong. It says Molech. Molech. I always say Morlock. So Morlech is another demon, y'all. And I say I've been saying it wrong all this time. It's Morlech. Okay, so it's another demon that is worshipped in America, and I believe it's the Freemasons that worship Morlech and not Morlock, I guess. So, and the reason why I say that is because there's this whole thing with George Washington that was done in another documentary thing, and they were talking about Morlock, and this demon, and how they have to do this worship for him and all this. But they were saying the Freemasons worship him. So the reason why he's brought up here is he's another powerful demon mentioned in the Bible that try to seize control. There's a heavy metal song by Gwar, and it's like, you know, there's this part in the song, it gets tight because of the drums and this badass riff through the G chord, you know what I mean? They go, we're feeding on 1,000,000 souls, I'm about to take control, right? So that's exactly what every demon is doing. They're feeding on these souls. As soon as they get enough, they can take control. They can take control and make their own personal hell. They can turn earth into hell, which a lot of y'all think is already happening, and it already is hell. Why do you think it is? Because these demons are literally taking control. And you done gave them a bunch of souls. It's just like that song. They done fed on 1,000,000 souls, and now they done took control. Y'all need to pull your souls back because it's your own, and God gave it to you. And so you need to figure out how, not just to make peace with yourself, but with God. And to do that, you gotta start thinking positive. You gotta get away from negative. You gotta get away from people that's trying to bring you down to their level, pretty much trying to make their problems your problems. You don't want to deal with them type of cats, okay? You need to take the time, because once you lose it, you can't get it back. And once we all get a certain age, we don't got enough money to live off of unless you're rich. Or like I said, some you know, whatever actress, or, you know, pretty much everybody wants to be a reality show. So all I'm saying is live right for yourself and do what's right. Not by trying to destroy people or take from people, but try to take your life under control and not let other people take your life and put you in a box and make you do things you don't want to do. Okay? If that makes sense. But let's get back to this. Well, anyway.
Modern issues like abortion and the perceived devaluation of human life. In this context, the spirit of Ba'al is not a person literally bowing to a stone idol, but a society replacing God with worldly desires. 2. Modern occultism and demonology. In various contemporary occult traditions, Ba'al is a well-known demonic figure. Baal, demon. In grimoires like the Lesser Key of Solomon, a 17th century text, Baal is listed as the first principal spirit or a king of hell. He is described as appearing with the combined heads of a cat, toad, and human, and possessing the power to make men invisible. Beelzebub, the biblical name Ba'al-zebub, Lord of the Flies, evolved into the demon Beelzebub, who in later Christian demonology became associated with Satan himself. Practitioners of specific forms of Western esoteric magic or demonolatry may actively invoke or work with Baal or Beelzebub, though this is a very small and private segment of the population.
So right there, what she said, or it said, in so many ways, is it was Baal, then it became Beelzebub, and then Beelzebub again. So what happened is here, this demon became a big demon, and then became a devil because it's associated with Satan, which means it's one of the kings of hell. And so it was like, okay, this thing then got souls, many souls, to where it became that devil. So now there's a demon devil thing, but because it's not, it's more of a, I guess you would say hellbound, hell-created demon, or earthbound demon. It's a little hard to explain, but either way, it's because of the fact people believe that this thing was able to level up, as you say, nowadays. So believe in something good, something greater than you, that's for the force of all mankind and everything on earth. So here we go. We're going to go with the Canaanites.
3. Canaanite Reconstructionism, religious revival. A very small, organized modern pagan tradition, known as Canaanite Reconstructivism, openly venerates Baal, Asherah, Anat, and other deities of the ancient Canaanite pantheon. This movement
demons.
seeks to reconstruct the original polytheistic religion of the Levant, based on historical texts and archaeology. Like most modern pagan practices, these rites are generally performed in a modern, non-harmful way, and do not involve the extreme rituals, like human sacrifice, sometimes attributed to the ancient forms. In summary, while there are no great public temples dedicated to Ba'al today, his name persists in small spiritual movements and, more broadly, as a powerful religious and moral critique of materialism and moral degradation. Would you like to know more about the historical evidence for Ba'al, such as the discoveries at Ugarit?
So, I mean, you can go on in this, and I probably stopped it so many times that y'all didn't follow well. So just go back, rewind, or ask the thing yourself. Okay, we're going to get back to this now. And, holy crap, the microphone was moving. We're going to get back to this now. It's going to be another 10 minutes or so.
In terms of financial loss, do you think you suffered?
Which part?
Tell me, I don't know.
My money was always taken. It was always taken.
Do you have an estimate of that?
Millions.
I mean, yeah.
I made $1 million by the time I was 14 years old. I went to the producers, had pension, health, and welfare because I wanted to get emancipated and get away from the slave trade. And I said, what's my buyout? What have I made so far? What do I have left? How do I get out? And they said, well, you've earned $1 million up until the point that you were 13. Now you're 14. And what's left in your account? $40,000. So I went to start the emancipation process, which, by the way, was gilded by and championed by the pedophile who was in my life that my father assigned to me through his work. So this pedophile comes in and, hey, we got to get you free of these awful parents. They're terrible. Let's do drugs and I'll, take advantage of you when you're sleeping, and then we can use the daytime to go and hire a lawyer and find you some clear defense. So how screwed up is your head then when the guy who's the bad guy is the one that's saving you?
Yeah.
That's the form of manipulation and brainwash right there. And when you got someone that's predatory, being your caregiver, your friend, your ally, or even your lover, you have to be aware of these type of things because these people are everywhere. If someone's trying to force themselves in your life to be your friend or your lover or anything like that, that means they only think about their own best interests. But you are the tool that will keep that satisfying feeling in their life. You'll keep them satisfied by continuing to letting things happen, continuing not to fight back, continuing to allow this person to be in your life. So you have to be very wary on who wants to be your friend. If they don't have things to help you move steadily forward, then they're your enemy. If they don't have things that help you learn new skills and even work with the skills you got and help you realize that the skills you got isn't a weakness or just some thing you do that you did when you was a kid, that they're actually something that could benefit you in life and help you move steadily forward, then that person is your enemy. If a person just wants you to come hang out all the time and they get mad because you got a job, I hate those type of people. You gotta go to work, you work your ass off for a week, and they go, oh, you ain't been here. Oh, and you don't know, well, bye. This is how you gotta think, bye. That's not your friend. And you gotta find a way to sort your life out. With that being said, go back to this, but I'm just saying it all starts with people coming in your life that you let and take control of you. That's what Corey Feldman is talking about here.
Right. So anyway, he got me through getting the lawyer, getting to the emancipation part, and then proving to the courts that I was able to sustain a life without being supported by parents, because I was never supported by parents.
Yeah.
I've never known what it's like to have a mom or dad bail you out. I will never know what it's like to have your parents pay for your school. I will never know what it's like to run home when you're in trouble. I don't understand those concepts.
Yeah.
I'll never have experience in this life.
Man, the end of that clip's actually like, that hurts to hear. To hear someone say that actually does not feel good.
And there's more people out there that's like that than you realize. Like even myself, there's things parents do with kids that I don't know about. Like I remember one time, a cousin of mine, older cousin, had little kids woke up Like, and then like came up and he's like getting a hug and all this. I'm like, what the hell's going on? Why is he getting a hug? Didn't understand that. And she was explaining to me that little kids want hugs when they get up or something like that. And it was odd to me because I never had that damn shit. And I didn't get up, go to the bathroom and watch cartoons. Or play with some toy I had or something. It was like, you know, and there's lots of other things that I, unlike most people, don't understand, that a lot of y'all understand and had, that I haven't, when it comes to human interactions. And somebody out here will listen and probably learn something, and I hope you do. But you gotta understand, you're on this spiritual battle. You're on a spiritual battle every day, but everyone, everything, and anything that you may think might be the right thing to do. You might have good intentions, but the phrase is, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So just try to do the right thing. Anyway.
So who are these people, right? Who are these people that, like Corey is saying, like Anya Wick said, it's systemic. It's like hereditary. You're born into it. Your parents abuse you. Their parents abuse them. This is like a religion, the belief system. Let's take a look at Anya Wick telling us a little bit more about Ba'al and the cult of Ba'al and who it is.
So what was the cult that you mentioned?
Now remember all the things I just talked about a little while ago. I talked about a lot of things, but remember everything I said about Ba'al and the 3 times God tried to destroy Ba'al in the Bible, both in Numbers, twice in Kings. And also remember what I said about what they practice when it comes to sexual things, when it comes to greed and all this. Just pay attention.
Mentioned earlier, the ancient one.
The cult of Ba'al, B-A-B-A-L.
Yep.
I know very little about it. My family masqueraded themselves as Jewish publicly. But behind closed doors, you know, at Passover dinners, when I was drugged, would admit, we are Satanists. Now, what I can understand, the public has caught on to this, but they call them the Illuminati.
More mentions of the Illuminati and this cult of Ba'al publicly masquerade themselves as Jewish, but behind closed doors they're not Jewish at all. They are Satanists. Ba'al, Satan, essentially one and the same. And so Anya is telling us that this group of people who appear to the public as Jewish are Ba'al worshippers and are behind this systemic abuse that is rife through Hollywood and potentially politics, the Epstein list, and who knows where else.
So I'm going to say what he's not saying at this time, and that's because they're saying that they're not saying all Jews. They're saying that there's a cult pretending to be Jews. So no way in this is where, if you're not understanding that, they're not saying all Jews are this cult, because everything in the Bible starts from the legends of the Jews, history of the Jews. When it comes to, you know, anything that has to do with Abraham, Isaac, Elijah, and Jacob, and Abraham, you know, Moses, so on and so on, all the way up to Jesus. This all has to do with connection with Jewish history. And then if you come to the point where you're talking about Jews' belief, Jesus himself, they don't consider it a part of the belief. And that's because when he was resurrected, there was 3 women that found him, not men. And in that area or region, when women believe that they heard something of God and stuff, they're ignored. Okay, they're considered witches and all that stuff. So it's one of the reasons why there's people out there that don't believe in Jesus, because they don't believe that women actually seen him come back to life. But yet, even though there's stuff of Saul that turned into Paul, and then there's 2 Sauls in the Bible, it's a long story I try to explain it to somebody ignorant before when they try to act like I was making something up, and it's just one of them things once again where you just get away from this person because they're wicked. But anyway,
this immediately made me think of a news story that came out late last year of 160 children being rescued in Guatemala from an extremist Jewish cult named Lev Tahor. This is the story here. I don't know if you guys remember this. Guatemala takes 160 minors from Lev Tahor cult into protective custody amid abuse claims. This is on the 21st of December 2024. Guatemalan authorities said they rescued 160 minors and 40 women on Friday from a farm used by the extremist ultra-Orthodox Lev Tahor cult amid an investigation into alleged child sex abuse. Lev Tahor has accused authorities of religious persecution. So this cult, after being prosecuted for what they've done, have turned around and accused the authorities of religious persecution. If your religion involves abusing children, your religion's fucked. Okay? I'm quite comfortable saying that. I don't care what it is. In 2021, 2 leaders of the group were convicted of kidnapping and child sexual exploitation crimes in New York. This is where Jeffrey Epstein lived. I'm not saying they're connected. They might be, but we don't know. I'm just saying it's interesting. They allegedly kidnapped 2 children from their mother to return a 14-year-old girl to an illegal sexual relationship with an adult male. And that's the end of that report, by the way. I just want to say as well, Jeffrey Epstein had many houses, but I think he was known to mainly live in New York. Now, also, I just want to say, because I feel like there's going to be at least one person with fingers covered in Dorito cheese who's violently slamming their keyboard right now saying that this is anti-Semitic. Brother, get yourself a tap water and just take a deep breath, because this article is posted by the Times of Israel. Okay, this is not anti-Semitic. Like I said, these people are masquerading as Jewish. They are not. This is not. Jews don't do this shit. Okay, this is not about Jewish people. I just wanted to make a distinction of that, because I know how many people in the comments can have IQs below room temperature. So as Anya said, this is thousands of years old. This is not anything new, and these people have their fingers reaching into politics, entertainment, everything. And we've got people like P. Diddy, Jeffrey Epstein. No one's really getting charged. We're not really getting names. Something is obfuscating the truth. All of these things seem to line up. But where does this cult of Baal come from, and how did it get its fingers so deeply into almost everywhere in modern America? After doing a bit of digging and from help from my community, this exact setup and belief system of Baal traces back to the Khazarian Mafia.
so now he's getting into the deep part of how it's around modern day time, which I explained what they would be worshiping in modern day times. But it's still a thing where this cult's been in plain sight the whole time. And I guess my, whole thing is, how do we abolish it when so many people idolize the main followers and people that believe and practice it? How do we get people not to follow, support all these celebrities and things that believe in this? Even right now, that Wicked thing is big, the whole Wicked show or movie or whatever it's called. And they show that Alice, whatever, Grande girl, I don't know her. I know her by, people always talk about her, Alex Grande or whatever. And I never listened to her music, watched her act. I don't know what the hell she comes from. But they show her looking so anorexic. And they show the black woman looking so anorexic. And so you have to think they're into some kind of crazy shit too. Even when they're touching each other or whatever, it's very uncomfortable feeling watching that. So you have to understand that there's people who's obsessed with the dang Wicked movies now. But just think about what I'm saying, and I keep using the word wicked, right? Well, what this thing is, obviously there's something wicked behind that Wicked movie. It's crazy.
And this story is so long and complex, but detailed incredibly well from start to finish in a fantastic 2-part documentary by a man named Chuck Swindoll Jr. And I'll leave that link below if you want to go check it out. They're a combined length of like over 3 hours, but they're there if you're prepared to go into that deep, dense rabbit hole. But I will give you a clip and a little short summary to prefix the clip. The Khazarian Empire was formed as like a semi-nomadic group in this around the 7th century after a group of people who followed the god Ba'al were expelled from Palestine for following this god because it was about vampiric and like ritualistic sacrificial practices. Okay, the same things that these survivors are talking about. And
so right there, he hit the key note of what I was trying to say. It is used as entertainment, used as people's cosplay, and so many other things. Vampires. Nosferatu, you know what I'm saying, is what these people practice. Blood draining, blood sucking, sacrificing and draining people of their blood, and using it to have eternal youth and to live for eternity, like Caitlyn Jenner or whatever her name is. What's her name? Is that the one? Caitlyn Jenner, the mom. The mom's supposed to be 70 years old. That chick looks like she's in her 40s. How is that possible? And then, you know what I'm saying? I mean, you go plastic surgery, but seriously, how is the mom of freaking the Kardashians so useful at 70 years old? She was born in 1955. Okay? It's because she's obviously part of this thing. You gotta think like that. A lot of people like the Kardashians. I don't see why. Yeah, they're attractive chicks, but they don't do shit. They're known for being on reality shows. I so hate reality shows, y'all. I can't stand them. And one of these days, y'all gonna see a show I created that I put on the back burner, and I might just let it out. I made a whole series, but and it's about how I hate reality shows. But anyway,
that we hear is going on everywhere in Hollywood. They were expelled from Palestine and they went north and settled in an area that was then known as Khazaria. Okay, and these people basically started an empire there because Khazaria at the time was central to all trade routes between Asia and Europe. Okay, anyone trading through there had to go through Khazaria, and they continued on their belief systems and their practices and would kill the travelers and the merchants going through there. They would steal their goods, their identities, and they would then meet up with their intended targets in Europe or in Asia, and that's how they began to dominate outward and build an empire. Now, interestingly, just before I show you the clip, because this is important, the area that was known as Khazaria is now southern Russia, and it also pushes into Ukraine, right where the war has been being fought for nearly three years now. And this clip from this documentary, which I highly recommend if you can handle it, explains how this cult of Baal gained its power and began to then masquerade as Jewish.
So 800 years later, an ultimatum is delivered by Russia. The leaders of the surrounding nations, especially Russia, have had so many years of complaints by their citizens that as a group they deliver an ultimatum to the Khazarian king. Send a communique to the Khazarian king that he must choose one of the 3 Abrahamic religions for his people and make it his official state religion and require all Khazarian citizens to practice it and socialize all Khazarian children to practice that faith. The Khazarian king was given a choice between Islam, Christianity, and Judaism. The Khazarian king chose Judaism and promised to stay within the requirements laid out by the surrounding confederacy of nations led by the Russian Tsar. Now, this is going to get critical to understanding how they've hidden themselves, in that they have hidden themselves underneath this guise called the Ashkenazi Jew. And they are not practicing Ashkenazi Jews. They are practicing Babylonianism, Talmudism. That's what they practice. That's the spirituality they practice. They have put an umbrella to be in secret, to remain in secret, that they're practicing Ashkenazi Jews, that they've taken on the Abrahamic Jewish faith. That's what they say. What they're actually doing is practicing Satanism, but they're telling everyone, and they're appearing to everyone, that they're practicing one of the three Western religions. And again, look at the pattern. You see the same thing happen in the Catholic Church. They tell you that they're a Western religion that's embraced the idea of Jesus and forgiveness and sin and the remuneration of sin and so on and so forth. But underneath that umbrella is pure Satanism. Just like the tunnels that are underneath the Vatican, they were there long before there was the organized church. It's because these people were already practicing this down in the tunnels underneath, the caverns underneath the ground, because they have to remain in secret. They can't do these things out in the open. They have to do them in secret because they know if normal everyday folks that are not brainwashed with this Satan worship won't allow for it. They won't stand for it. People will stop it. So they know they have to hide it. Despite his agreement and promise, the Khazarian king and his inner circle of oligarchs kept practicing ancient Babylonian black magic, also known as secret Satanism. This Satanism involved occult ceremonies featuring child sacrifice after bleeding them out, drinking their blood. I put that in quotes because it's a literal statement. After bleeding them out, drinking their blood, and eating their hearts. The deep, dark secret of the occult ceremonies was that they were all based on ancient Baal worship, also known as worship of the owl. Now I'm going to...
So now it's about to go into a whole another myth that's actually a conspiracy theory, a United States conspiracy theory with the owl. And one thing about what he was saying about the Catholics is they had a whole saint. I can't remember the name of the saint, but when things went into Catholicism and Gentiles were becoming Catholicism, they got rid of the pagan gods that were there in Rome. But this saint decided, well, let's name, let's use this day to practice Christmas, which was a winter solstice. And then let's put this saint above this god, like where we worship this god and stuff. And all those things were already there. Like he said, there was an underground temple or underground tunnels, but there's also places throughout the Vatican where they were already there in Rome and stuff, and so they were there worshiping other gods, but now they use their worship other saints. And so that's where Catholicism goes in, is it hides the fact that, and I think there was a quote by this saint where it was like, it's been so long since I read this stuff, but it was some kind of quote where he said, I fooled the people into worshiping these gods, or something like that. And it was something like that. It's been a long time, but so he tricked people and so most of the holidays that you guys celebrate, based off of Catholicism, is actually pagan holidays. And so you gotta be careful on holidays too. I don't celebrate too much nothing. It has nothing to do with religious thing. It's I don't believe in commercialization of this stuff. I'm not gonna spend money just because the holiday. And I mean what? Anyway. And so anyway, now this story is about to say about the owl. I mean, I could go back a bit, but I've been back a bit too many times. We'll try to hit the mark, let's say. Let's see, where is that? Okay, right, that's still a little further back. Damn it, I can't get it with this video. But anyway, where's the conspiracy theory comes in is where the owl worship is supposed to be people who worship this owl. Supposedly there's this conspiracy theory that Ronald Reagan and the president that was going to be president went to a ceremony with this giant owl that they worship, and in there that ceremony told you who was going to become the next president, and the guy Ronald Reagan came in there with was Nixon, and they had some kind of ceremony where he drank some blood or something, and sooner or later Nixon became president. But it was also at the same event that Reagan was sworn to be the president soon after him. Except for that didn't happen. You had Ford, and then you had the one-time president, I can't remember his freaking name. I always forget his freaking name. Jimmy Carter, I think, or whatever. Anyway, and then it moved on to him, Ronald Reagan. And then so forth when Reagan created one of the big things he created that we're going against right now, that Trump is going against right now, is a free trade agreement, which was created by Ronald Reagan to be able to unite businesses between America, Mexico, and Canada. So to bring the United States businesses to Mexico, and be able to send things, be able to make, transport businesses can go back and forth between Mexico and America. Same thing with Canada, America, but then the free trade agreement goes beyond that. It kind of makes like a circle thing where it goes from Canada to Mexico, Mexico to the United States, and then not just those places through Central America and Northern America, but even further south into South America, which will unite those things, except for after Reagan's whole terms were served, the free trade agreement went beyond America's and went overseas. This is why we have Indian people now doing telemarketing instead of American people, which I think a lot of us are tired of because of the fact that so many of them were pranking us and using the phones to do scams and con arts type stuff to take money from people. And so now it's like, with me, it's a big burden. I so hate hearing Indian people on the phone. It has nothing to do with the fact that it's their race or whatever. It's the fact that you tried to con me out of money when I don't need that shit happening. And in some cases did, because I actually thought you were part of some business. And I just had some relative told me something similar happened to them just a minute ago, and it was just Thanksgiving the other day. So I feel bad about that. It's just like, so Trump wants to stop the free trade agreement, and did in his first term canceled the free trade agreement, but now it's going beyond that because he wants to try to bring all these businesses back to America, but it's too late. Reagan hasn't been president since the 80s, and so we got 40 years pretty much of Americans taking American businesses and putting them overseas in all these other countries, to where now our dollar doesn't mean crap here, but it's still valued somewhere else, and puts jobs in other places where more people were hired. There wouldn't be so much of a homeless problem or a big financial problem if businesses would have stayed here and been able to circulate, have people have jobs. But when you take jobs, even telemarketing jobs, girls are always on the phone to give them a job to people in another country and take the phones away from women that they can work by. It ruins everything. Women need telemarketing jobs, damn it. Bring them back. Guys need car repair jobs and all this stuff. We need them all back. So, anyway, I went too far off in the left field about the free trade agreement when I was supposed to be talking about the owl ceremony conspiracy. But anyway, I'll let this guy talk about it. They got a hiccup. I can't drink no more of those.
You all ever heard of a place called Bohemian Grove?
Yes, we certainly have heard of Bohemian Grove, and he goes deeper into this stuff. Like I said, the links are down.
So there it is. There's the footage, right? That's the thing I'm talking about right here. If you can see my arrow thing, I'll move it up in the black area. Can you see me move it? If you do, then pay attention to where it goes. This is Kennedy right here, and this is Ronald Reagan. This is the ceremony that they did that I was just talking about, where they were going to talk about who's going to become the next president. This ceremony happened in 1967. But then sooner or later, bang, boom, Nixon is president. What happened? 10, 15 years pass, boom, Reagan's president. And here's this giant owl they worship, But here, and there's also, I got a little clip, animated thing I made. I don't know if I put it on YouTube yet, but it definitely is on Instagram. I'll do that too.
There if you want to go and check it out. But let me just reiterate quickly before I get on to how this all, I think, ties back to Tila Tequila and Jeffrey Epstein, which, you can probably begin to see by now what I'm getting at. This is not against any specific religion, because in fact, again, these people are not Jewish. They are masquerading as Jewish. This is about good versus evil. This is about everyday people like us trying to work out why the world is the way that it is. And this story of Baal worship that seems to go back thousands of years to the modern day, which, like I said, is detailed so well in that documentary, seems to have a pretty good answer. And I personally, from my own research, think that this stuff is real. I think it's part of the terrible truth. If good and evil is real and we are to believe in the ideas of possession, people being possessed, and exorcisms, I think that maybe what Billy Corgan and Juliet Bryant saw was potentially people who in some way have some form of possession because they have sold their soul for fame or power by going through these rituals. And we always hear that evil can't manipulate your free will, but it can trick you and it can hide in plain sight. If you're unaware and blindly walk into it because you're oblivious and ignorant, that's on you. But it's not messing with your free will. But what if...
And that's why I'm saying, like, even when he first mentioned the cult, I was like, whoa. And then you even see the look on his face where he's like, whoa. Because you're not, and the rest of y'all that don't even know what the hell this is, and you're learning now. You're learning today while watching this video. Please subscribe, you know, if you like it. But literally, if you're learning today, then, you know, by seeing his reaction to hearing what I'm saying, how I felt when I first heard this, then you got to realize that there's stuff that people know, true people of God know, true people that know the spirit world will hear words, will hear terms, will hear names of beings that y'all have never seen or heard of. And as soon as they hear those names, those words, they're like, holy shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how I felt when I first heard this. And it blew my mind. And then because of the fact I read Revelations, yo, many times. And I'll tell you, if Jesus is coming back, and he's coming back to get rid of the world of evil, and the enemy of God in multiple different times throughout the Bible is this cult Ba'al, then that means that he's coming back to finish off the strongest part of this evil. Beelzebub is about to go down, y'all. Okay? Satan's gonna go down, which means if Beelzebub is powerful and he works for Satan as a demon, you know what I'm saying, and they tied together, I done proved to you so many different ways through text or things, but they're talking about that they tie together. So that means there's some normal Satan worshipers out there with some other kind of thing. That just leaves that one stupid demon, Morlock or whatever, and that means that's their Holy Trinity, right there. Is those three things. It's the evil Trinity, evil Holy Trinity, and so yeah, the Antichrist can be the last part of the craziness. It makes so much sense if you believe in Christianity and God and just believe in God, believe in Jesus. Understand where I'm coming from. If you don't, fine. But it's right there in plain sight.
Effect does it have to those who do walk towards it with their free will, who know that it's there and intentionally go towards it? Because like Terrence Howard said earlier, people are selling their soul to take shortcuts to get what they want in life, whether it's power like Jeffrey Epstein or maybe fame like Tila Tequila. I'm speculating there. You know, and I'm not sure if people are going to watch this and maybe be frustrated because I don't have like a definitive answer, but even Billy Corgan said to Corey Feldman there that like he saw it with his own eyes, but even he doesn't know exactly what he saw, but he knows that he has seen it. And I think that once we collectively acknowledge it and see it for what it is, and when I say it, I mean just like this dark force that is in Hollywood and is in politics, and I think we can clearly see that because we are being fed lies, and that is so obvious. Once we begin to like wake up and like not be afraid to talk about it, because I'll admit I was like super hesitant to make this video and go this deep, but like ignoring it to me just exacerbates the problem, and I don't want to be a part of that. So I think we should all be okay with talking about it, because that's the only way things are ever going to change. And that's when it's going to lose its power. First, people need to even realize that it's happening. And then change can happen, and then the world begins to heal. And personally, I do think that is happening right now. I think people are awakening. I think we are in a shift. I believe we are coming into the age of Aquarius. And I think maybe there is something to what Vladimir Putin said when he said the vampire ball is coming to an end. Because as you saw in that clip, the Russians were the...
Do you get that? Do y'all get that? Rewind that. What you're saying. So yeah, where he says the vampire ball is coming to an end. Vladimir Putin talks NATO nukes. And those yada yada yada. It's an interview. But the point is, well, I thought he was going to say something more about vampires, but no. Anyway, my point is, this is Putin saying this, and he's talking about a vampire ball coming to an end. He's talking about the end of Ukraine. Okay, and it already proved that Ukraine is where these people were, and a lot of Ukrainians are leaving. There's a certain Ukrainian, when I thought of this, when he exposed this, and all this part here, I started thinking about it, because that person is obsessed with wickedness or evil things. But it's crazy, y'all.
Empire Ball is coming to an end. Because as you saw in that clip, the Russians were the one who intervened in Khazaria and forced this group to stop doing what they were doing and align themselves with a religion. And they did that. They chose Judaism, but they never actually stopped doing what they were doing. It was just a facade. It's just a cover. This stuff is real, and I think Russia knows about it. I think people in America know about it. I think people in the West know about it as well. I don't think all the elites and all the rich people in the world are like Baal worshipping Satanists at all. I think people get to high places and see the world for what it is, and that's when you get people like Mel Gibson or Jim Carrey. They're just two names that pop to mind that clearly got high enough to see what was going on and took a step back, and then, you know, they get character assassinated like everyone does who speaks out. Maybe one day my character will get assassinated, who knows. I just want to say as well, I believe that there are things happening in the world that the public doesn't know about, and it is preparing to flip the tide in the war between good and evil. I really do think that. I can't give you any evidence. This is just how I feel. Maybe there's something to Chris Bledsoe's 2026 prediction of a revelation, of new knowledge, and maybe a big shift is going to come. And, you know, with what we've seen today, I think it's certainly needed. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. It totally comes from a good place. I know it got wild, and like I said, this all just started with someone saying, hey, it was Tila Tequila. And then I ended up all the way down here. I'm curious to know what you guys think about it being Tila Tequila, about the Khazarian Mafia, and about all of these people who are speaking out about this child abuse cult that seems to be rife throughout Hollywood. I mean, there's just so much smoke. There has to be fire somewhere. So thank you once again for your support, guys.
So yeah, shout out, follow Polarity, follow this Josh guy. Shout out to him. He did amazing work. This video is amazing to me. It's eye-opening. It explains so much of the evil that's spreading across the United States, across the whole globe, and it explains Jesus' return. Because the old enemy of God still around, a lot of bad things are going to go down until the time comes that the true people of God, true children of God, God himself, angels, all of them come to fight. And Armageddon occurs. Okay, it's a fighting. Armageddon is a place. Okay, Judgment Day is the day, the battle. Okay? Anyway. So people, this has been one long video, and I just want to say thank you for watching. Thank you for paying attention. I believe we opened up a lot of truths today in this video, and there's so many more to come about. And yeah, maybe it's not as corny as some of my other videos where I try to say things are not real, but that's not what this channel's, that's not what this show's about. It's about me exposing the truth, trying to figure it out, trying to let you figure it out, you know. And I figure this is way better than me looking at some video where it may be AI or something. But believe me, I believe there's a purpose to talk about this video. Now this is maybe me speaking my opinion, but I think I did a little bit better than the other two guys that reviewed this video who didn't understand what was being said and was misled and went way off in the left field about something that no one cares about. One of them making a complete mockery of this video you know, making all the noises, that, you know, the horn sound and all that crap, and a lot of, I don't know what you call it, dang, it's right on the top of my brain, I can't even say it. It's getting tired. But, what do you call it, photoshopping and stuff he did in his video. But the true thing that's being said in his videos, there's a cult of Baal, an old enemy of God that's been destroying this earth, that people are still worshiping, and people you worship are worshiping them. So that means you're giving them power. As soon as you keep giving into them, believing in them, liking them, obsessing over them, you're giving them your soul. And you got to turn your back from them. You got to turn away. You got to find your way. You know, it's the only way to survive this, is to worship God in your way. You can go to church and do it, but the best thing is to pick up the book and truly search for the truth. When I searched for the truth of God, I didn't just pick up the book. I wanted to know. I went to many different religions trying to learn, and the ones I felt the bad energy from, I backed the hell away. So it's best to try to understand and open up and obtain the knowledge you can, and then just keep going, because sooner or later it's going to lead you down the right place, as long as your intentions are on the right path. I mean, I'm not trying to say, you know, like I said, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, but I'm saying you have to be on the right path to understand everything and to seek the truth. Because believe me, the truth will set you free. And with that being said, peace be with you, blessings upon you. Literally, thank you for watching this video. Leave comments. You know, if you want, you can go to this thing here and leave some kind of thing if you want. At the same time, please subscribe. I'm trying to reach, I got a small goal. I just want to reach about 400 subscribers. And catch you later. The next video will be about the ice wall. It's a conspiracy theory, you know, flat earth thing. You guys will see. Hold on. Later.